my bacha party, I hope that you are doing so good. Well, yes, I welcome you all to midterm score booster series where I'll be talking about control and coordination chapter. I know it's a tricky chapter, but I'll be definitely trying to make it really easy for you, and also I'll be providing you the previous year questions that have come in boards, and I'll be also telling you how to frame the answers for the same. So without further ado, let's just begin, and I hope that you have solved these questions that I'm going to show you over here. Well, if you haven't, that's a bad thing. You should be solving the homework that I'm giving you, and if you've already did, then just check your answers if you got it correct. Okay, so which blood vessels contain blood with these characteristics? Chalo, let's see. Oxygen concentration is high, carbon dioxide concentration is low, and pressure is high. Now when pressure is high, it has to be an artery, because arteries are the one that takes the blood away from the heart. Now when they take the blood away from the heart, they are given enough pressure to carry the blood towards different parts of our body, away from our heart to different parts of our body, which is why it has to be an artery. A for away, A for artery. Now, which artery is the one that has high concentration of oxygen? That means oxygenated blood is way too much, and low concentration of carbon dioxide. So over here, if this is our heart, even though it is not, so we have left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. The left side of our heart will be carrying the oxygenated blood, you know that, right? And which is that artery that is connected to the left side of our heart? It is aorta, children. So the one that they are talking about over here, it has to be aorta. Did you get your answers to be correct? If you got your answer correct, then give yourself a big tap on the back. Now question number 2. In photosynthesis, which substances are used up, which are produced, and which are necessary but remains unchanged? So let's see over here. Used up. Water, can it be used up? Yes, it can be used up. Oxygen, oxygen is produced, not used up, so let's cancel. Carbon dioxide, can it be used up? Yeah. Chlorophyll, no, it cannot be used up, it's just there, it's a pigment, right? Now, produce, so these two options are gone. Forget about these two options. Now we are left with these both. Use your elimination method, okay? That will make you solve things much faster. So over here, okay, let's see produced. Oxygen, is it produced? Yes. Water, is it produced? Yes, it is produced, but technically speaking, oxygen is the one that is majorly produced, and you know the reaction of photosynthesis as well. But still, let's keep both of these options as of now. Remains unchanged. Chlorophyll, oxygen. No, bacha, oxygen is being produced. It does not remains unchanged, it's a gas, right? So this is again wrong, this is correct. Chlorophyll is the one that remains unchanged. So your answer, option number A is correct. Did you get your answers to be correct? If yes, then claps. Now, an experiment is set up as shown. Now this is not a previous year question, but I found it to be very interesting and somewhat tricky. So I thought I'll make it solve it for you. So over here we have 1, 2, 3 test tubes, yeah, which they have called as flask, and there is one conical flask, okay, and in each of these test tubes you have what, children? You have lime water as in CaOH twice, okay, calcium hydroxide. Now, basically, in this particular test tube, you have potassium hydroxide also, which is the one that is responsible for absorption of carbon dioxide. So, if it sees carbon dioxide, it will take that carbon dioxide in, okay. Now, they are asking you, what is the appearance of lime water in flask 1 and 2 after a period of 10 minutes? You just focused on this and this. So, what will be the color change? Will there be a color change in flask 1 and 2 after 10 minutes? That is the question. So basically, children, do you think that there will be a color change? You just imagine, will there be a color change over here and here? Well, there will be color change, but let's see where. So living organisms are there, they will respire, they will breathe, they will give out carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, this particular conical flask is attached to this guy and this guy. So the carbon dioxide can move and get inside this particular test tube containing lime water. Now, when CaOH twice reacts with carbon dioxide, what do you get? Calcium carbonate, which turns everything milky or cloudy. So, flask 2 has to be milky or cloudy, okay, it is white or cloudy. So, either the answer is this or this, okay. We are cancelling this option, we are cancelling this option as well. Going ahead, let's talk about flask 1. So, flask 1, it is also connected. CO2, suppose it comes here, but this particular tube, test tube, is connected to potassium hydroxide as well. So which is why? What happens, children? The carbon dioxide which is coming over here, it can be absorbed by the potassium hydroxide which is in there in the test tube just near it. So all the absorption could take place, which is why the answer for this question will be B. Here there won't be much change, it will be clear, but here you will be finding milky or cloudy color. I am not saying there won't be any change, there will be obviously, but not much change, which is why B1 will be more appropriate to say. Yeah. So you might get these type of questions. Going ahead, okay, an explanatory answer. And you know, I know that you find it difficult to explain the answer, to find the exact point. So I have written as well. We'll see. Okay. First question, write 2 water conducting tissues present in plants. So children, you know that xylem is the main tissue that we have. It is formed of tracheids and vessels. You have tracheids, xylem tracheids and xylem vessels, which are group of cells which carries the water. Okay. That is one thing. Now, how does water enter continuously into the root xylem? So, if you're talking about root xylem, basically, as I said, roots always tend to uptake more amount of ions from the soil. So, when more amount of ions are taken from the soil, that means what? Solute concentration is high. The amount of solute is high. So, to combat this, what happens? The water molecules which are there over here, they are also taken inside with the help of osmosis. So, the process by which the ions are taken in, it's active transport. Okay, they are expending money to take this ions inside because obviously the root needs ions. Okay, but because of this thing happening, H2O can freely move inside the roots and this will cause pressure. Now, one H2O is there, other H2O is there above it, it will cause pressure so that the H2O can move up. This is known as root pressure theory. Well, you can also explain about transpirational pull, but the one that plays a major role in the roots is always root pressure theory, and we have already studied about it. So, I don't want to waste much of your time talking about it. If you want to have a detailed analysis of this, you can go watch the other video. Okay. Now, B option. Explain why plants have low energy needs as compared to animals. Now, again, this is something there where you have to use your own brain. No one will come and tell you that in the NCERT you can find this. No, it's not like that. You have to think for your own self. So, plants have low energy needs compared to animals. Why? First thing, their metabolic rate is low. Are they running around like us? Are they talking like us? No. So, obviously, their metabolic rate, their sets of reaction that happens in their body will be comparatively, obviously, lesser, which is why they do not need much of their energy. Okay, so metabolic rate is the first point. Okay, plants generally have lower metabolic rate than the animals. They do not require energy for movement or complex behavior, which are very common in the case of animals like us. Talking about photosynthesis, they also do photosynthesis. So, plants produce their own food through photosynthesis, converting sunlight to chemical energy. As a result, their energy requirements are lower since they can generate energy efficiently from sunlight. So, their energy source is sunlight. Our energy source is them. That is, we get food from them. So, that is something different. Okay, they have their constant supply of energy, which is the sunlight, which is why they are not dependent upon energy. They get it. Okay, they get it and they have it in a, they take it in a very slow rate as well. So, everything is all good for them, which is why they have low energy rates. You can frame your answers like this. This is a 2-marker question. Okay, so 2 points. If you frame it really nicely, it will be really good. Okay. Now, if you want the PDF of all things that I have said over here, children, there's a link that is given in the description box, or it might be there in the comment section as well. You can click on that link and then it will direct you to this particular page, where for every day, day-wise they have given the chapter name as well as the link for the PDF. If you click on that, you will get the access for the PDF and you can download it and study by yourself as well. Okay. Now, going ahead, next question, write 3 points of difference between respiration in plants and respiration in animals. This is 3 markers and they are asking you to put 3 points. Can you try to frame? Did you try to frame? That should be the first question. But yes, okay, let's see one by one. First difference can be on the basis of energy source. So, plants basically, as you know, produce energy through photosynthesis and respiration. Okay. So they have both respiration as well as photosynthesis happening. Obtains energy by consuming organic matter. So they take energy by consuming the organic matter. This is the difference comes in respiration itself. Okay, why I am telling you? Because over here you can reframe the sentence as plants obtain their energy both from respiration and photosynthesis, whereas animals, they are obtaining from energy just from respiration or by consuming organic matter, because this organic matter is going to undergo respiration, cellular respiration. Now if you are not happy with this point, I have given you 3 other points as well, because they have asked you 3 points, right? So over here, oxygen requirement, can perform respiration in the presence or absence of oxygen. Yes, plants can definitely perform respiration in the presence or absence of oxygen for a shorter run, but over here there will be so much expenditure of ATP. Primarily requires oxygen for aerobic respiration. They are also able to do an aerobic respiration, but for a very certain limit. So they will also require, they definitely require more amount of oxygen for aerobic respiration. Respiratory organs, no specialized organs. Gas exchange occurs through stomata and lenticels, whereas over there specialized organs are there. We know we have lungs and everything. Okay, talking about rate of respiration, generally lower rate due to lower energy demands, but we generally have a very higher rate of respiration because we need more energy. So these 2 points are very much appropriate. These 2 points you can put it in the last. Okay, so this should be the first point, this should be the second point, and then probably this could be your third point as well. Works? If you have any other things that you remember, then definitely you can put that as well. Okay. Now, explain the function of the kidney and the formation of urine. It was a 5-marker question. You have to talk about how it helps in filtration of blood. It kits out all the waste products and things. Regulation of blood pressure. It helps regulate the blood pressure by taking in lots of water or giving out lots of water. In that way, the amount of, if water is less, blood pressure automatically becomes less. Okay, it becomes less because you only think if this is a blood vessel, when it has lots of water, that means your plasma will be also having water, right? So there will be too much amount of blood pressure on it. But when there is little less water, the blood pressure also becomes less comparatively. So that is one thing. Now electrolyte balance, which is very much important for your body. Kidney maintain the balance of electrolytes like sodium, potassium, calcium in the body, which is responsible for your nerve regulation, lots and lots of things. Okay. Now acid-base balance, again something important. So in normal pH only your body can survive, otherwise along with the pathogens your blood cells will also be dying. So they help regulate the pH level of the blood by excreting hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate. So bicarbonate makes things more alkaline, whereas hydrogen ions make things more acidic. Okay. So that is there. Erythropoiesis regulation. Kidneys produce erythropoietin, a hormone that stimulates RBC formation. We have studied about it, and also you can say vitamin D formation. Okay, in that also it plays a major role. That is all about the function. So this is a 5-marker question. You can write almost like the 3 functions, at least 3 functions out of this, and then if you talk about formation of urine, you cannot miss even a single sentence from this. Okay, so first one is glomerular filtration, then you have to talk about tubular reabsorption, then tubular secretion, and then excretion, the final round. So basically children, you can go have a read in the PDF. I'm not explaining it again because we have explained it, and today we have to start a new chapter, right? So going ahead, let's see the new chapter. So why do we just take off our hands when we touch something really hot? Do you know why is that? Because we are having something in our body, very inbuilt in our body, that is known as reflex action. So when something comes up, okay, when we see it's hot, we automatically pull our hands behind. Why? Because we are doing a reflex action, and this is an inborn action in our body. Now basically, on what basis, because of what does this reflex action happen? Okay, it happens because of a stimulus. And what is a stimulus? The changes in the environment to which organisms respond and react are known as stimuli. So basically the change that is over here, it is what? It is the change that is over here. It is what? The hot temperature of the pan. Okay, and to which we organisms are responding and reacting. So this particular change that you see over here, on the basis of which we are reacting, they are known as stimuli or stimulus. Okay, this is a basic idea of control and coordination. We are starting on the chapter. You should be knowing what is stimuli, what is reflex action. So now on the basis of this stimuli, if you are doing something involuntarily, then this is known as what? Reflex action. Okay, the reflex action in animals and in plants, they are very different. So in animals, there is both nervous as well as hormonal control. Okay, so all our brain, our spinal cord, everything is included. Along with that, our hormones are also being included. Okay, there are so many hormones, plenty of hormones in our body. They are also responsible for causing the reflex action in some or the other way. But when you talk about plants, do you think plants, they have a brain? Do they have a nervous system, actual nervous system? No. They rely on what? The hormones. So basically in them, the reflex action and everything will be under hormonal control. Please remember this. So according to this particular slide, we studied two things. Okay, in plants, when we are talking about reflex action, it's just about hormonal control. There will be hormones being released and they control the reflex action. Now on the cases of animals, the things are quite different. There is both nervous as well as hormonal control. We will see how. Now all of them together, when these things are working properly, it leads to what? Coordination. And what do you mean by coordination? The working together of various parts of a body of an organism in a proper manner to produce reaction to a stimulus is known as coordination. So just to imagine if my brain is not coordinated, okay, my hand have decided, or the nerves over here have decided to basically pull, okay, the hand away from the hot pan, but my spinal cord didn't get the appropriate information, and now it is not working and it is not giving information for the effector organ, that is muscle, to pull up the hand. Will it be okay? No. So basically I need a coordination. Basically whatever nerves are there, it has to be connected, it has to work properly, it has to give out a reaction, and this reaction is known as a coordinated reaction, which happens because of all these things that you see over here. Now we will be talking about plants first and then we will be talking about animals. So control and coordination in plants, my dear children. So as I know, we will be pacing things up because it's a one shot and we have to complete the whole chapter. So my first question is, do plants move? Have you seen plants moving? Well, if you have not seen plants moving like this, they definitely move like this. They definitely undergo reactions. Basically they go according to where the sun is. So this is also considered to be movement, even though it's not a fast-paced movement like us. Now, movements in plants can be divided into two categories. One such category is what? Nastic movement, and the other one is what? Tropical movement or tropic movements. Okay, it can be tropical movement or it can be also known as tropic movements. So basically what happens and what is the difference between nastic and tropical? Let's see that. So over here, nastic movements, when I touch Mimosa pudica, that is touch me not plant, it closes up. Don't read what is over here, okay? When I touch Mimosa pudica plant, it closes up. Is it closing towards my hand, towards the stimulus? What is the stimulus? Stimulus is the touch. I am touching it over here. It is closing, but is it closing towards my hand or something like that? Is it coming to this particular direction? No. So basically, this type of movement is known as non-directional movement. I think I should be telling about directional movement first, then you will understand things better. So there is a sun, this sunflower. The sunflower will be moving according to the sun. Well, over here, the stimulus is what, children? The sun's light. And what is this? This is the organism which is going to react to the sun's light. So if this organism or this particular flower is moving towards the area of sun, basically that means it's a directional movement. Okay? It is going according to the direction of the stimulus. Fine. Now over here it has nothing to do with the direction, which is why I say that it is a non-directional movement. It's a very important point. Okay, so it is a non-directional movement. Here the direction of the response that is being done, that is closing up, is not determined by the direction of the stimulus, that is me touching the Mimosa pudica plant. It may or may not be growth movements. So these type of movements may not be considered as growth movements. It has nothing to, sometimes it may have something to do with growth, but mostly it does not have anything to do with growth. So when this is closing or this is opening, do you think that they are growing? No, they are not growing, which is why I say that this may or may not be growth movements, but there are other examples which could be included in the growth movements, which is why this particular term is being included. But remember, growth movements are mostly associated with tropical movements and not nastic movements. So for nastic movements, what you have to remember, children, that it is a non-directional movement. Here the direction of the response has nothing to do with the direction of the stimulus, and this may or may not be growth movement. Okay, now going ahead, let's see different types of nastic movements. So when Thigmo word comes, okay, so first one is Thigmnonasty or Thigmnonastic movements. So whenever the word Thigmo comes, just understand here the stimulus will be touch. The example is what? Your Mimosa pudica plant itself. Now Mimosa pudica, you have to remember the name. It's Mimosa or Mimosa, whatever you want to say, pudica. Okay, and they are the movements that are responses to touch or physical contact. So as you can see over here, that's the case that is happening. Now this is Photonasty. Photo means what? Photo means what? The stimulus will be what? The light. Stimulus will be light. So any responses to light will be known as photonastic movement. Example becomes your daisy. So you have daisy over here. Okay, daisy tends to bloom when light is there, but it does not move according to the sun. It tends to bloom when light is there, and it tends to close up when light is not there, but it has nothing to do with the direction of the sun. Okay, it does not go according to the sun, which is why I did not call it a tropical movement. I say that it is what? A nastic movement itself. It's just closing and opening. So this is an example of photonasty. Going ahead, we have Thermonasty. Here thermo, obviously the term thermo, you only think thermo comes for thermometer. In thermometer, what are we checking? Temperature. So these are the reactions on the basis of temperature. So over here you see certain plants. These plants, this plant that you see over here, you call it rhododendron. You don't have to remember the name of rhododendron, okay? So things that I am explaining over here is just for you to understand what are nastic movements. You have to remember Mimosa pudica in nastic movement. That is the most important thing, okay? It shows Thigmnonasty. Then, now over here these are the examples. So thermonastic as in when the temperature is fine, okay? There is high temperature, the leaves appear to be like this. But when the temperature is low, as you can see over here, there is too much snow and things like that, this point of time, the leaves of the rhododendron, it becomes drooped, it becomes closed up, it becomes curved. This is a response to temperature. But is it directional? No, it has nothing to do with the directional. It has nothing to do with the direction, okay? So basically we learned three nastic movements. First thing we learned about nastic movements, they are non-directional movements. They may or may not be growth movements, but mostly they are not. Now Thigmnonasty, the first thing, example is Mimosa pudica or touch me not plant. Okay, so over here when we touch, it is getting closed, but it has nothing to do with the direction of the stimulus, that is touch. Okay, now that is example of Thigmnonasty. Going ahead, Photonasty, on response to light, daisy is closing and opening. And then Thermonasty, where on response to temperature, the leaves are closing and opening. When there is low temperature, they close. There is normal temperature, they open up. Done? Now, sunflowers show tropic movements or nastic movements. Now you tell me, children, sunflowers, you can see over here, they're moving according to the sun. So it has to be what? It has to be a tropic movement, not a nastic movement. Going ahead, we'll be talking about this only. So tropical movements or trophic movements, okay, we can divide into these many categories, okay, but let's see the common feature of all these trophic movements that we are going to study right now. So here the direction of response is determined by the direction of the stimulus. So it will definitely have to do something with the direction of the stimulus. So as I said about sun, now forget sun, there is water in the soil. The roots always grow towards the area where the water is there. This is also directional. Water is in that side, which is why roots are going towards that side, right? So this is an example of what? Hydrotropism. Hydro as in water, okay, and it is tropical movement, it is directional movement, which is why it is known as hydrotropism. Okay, so here the direction of the response, that is movement of roots is determined by the direction of the stimulants, that is the water content that is over there. Now this is a directional movement and they include growth movements as well. So over here the roots are growing towards the water-filled areas, not water-filled areas, but the water is rich in that particular areas. So this is associated to be a growth movement, and this is an important question. So all the small details I am telling you, they are very much important. Do not forget. Now on the basis of what is the stimuli, you can divide them into these many categories. Photo, obviously that means what? Light is the stimuli. Going ahead, geo, what do you mean by geo? Geo, or basically you can call it gravitropism also. Geotropism or gravitropism means this is in response to gravity. Okay. Chemo, it is in response to chemicals. When we see the examples, it becomes more clear for you. Hydro means it will be in response to water. Thigmo, again, this will be in response to touch. Fine. So photo, gravi or geo, chemo, hydro, thigmo, we are going to study about them in detail now. So remember, all of them are tropical movements. As you can see over here, when sun is there, the shoot part of the plant is growing towards the sun. Over here also you can see the same. But whereas if you see the roots when they are growing downwards, they are not going towards the sun. So there is something that you need to know about them. First thing, let's see the general detail about phototropism. It is the directional movement of the plant part in response to light. Agreed. There are two types. One is positive phototropism. Okay, that is shown by shoots. Because why I say it is positive? Because it is going towards the sun. Okay. Now on the other hand, there is negative phototropism that is shown by roots. Negative as in it is going away from the sun. Now you might be thinking, ma'am, it's an example of Nastic movement, it has nothing to do with the direction. No, it has something to do with the direction. It is just going against the stimulus. That is the thing. It is the directional thing. If sun was over here, the roots would have gone there. So it is the opposite of where the sun is there, where the stimulus is there. So it's a negative effect that it is showing over here. So this is an example of negative phototropism. I know this is confusing, but you can just imagine. Okay, if your sun is there and your roots are growing here, this could have been an example of what? Nastic movement, because it has nothing to do with the direction of the sun. But over here they are going exactly opposite to where the sun is, which is why I say that it has something to do with the direction of the sun. It is just showing a negative effect. So negative phototropism is shown by roots, positive phototropism is shown by shoots. Will you be able to remember it? It's very, very, very important. Okay. Now going ahead, that is about phototropism. There's a video as well. So okay, I'm not playing the entire video. So you have seen basically over here at the starting, the plants were going towards the light source, okay, which is why it is very, 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 very important. So okay, now when I want the video to play, it won't play. Now over here, it's not like chumma it's happening. As I said, there is a role of hormone in this. Plants always work with the help of hormones. And what is this particular hormone which is there? It is known as auxin, children. And this is a very important question that have come trillions of times in both. So we have to remember it. So what happens in auxin? Auxin is generally distributed towards the tip. Okay, auxin is generally there towards the tip of the shoot. Okay, or the root. So over here we are talking about the shoot region. Shoot as in which is above the soil. So at the tip the auxin is there. Now the sun is over here, okay, which is why the auxin, all of them, they move towards one side. So all the auxins which were distributed uniformly, they have moved towards the opposite side. So sun is there on this side, that is basically, let's say it's right side, but everything has moved to the left side, that is the auxin pigments, okay, the auxin hormones, not the pigments. Now when this happens, the plant, it slowly bends. But why is this happening? Why auxin, when it comes to the side, why does the plant has to bend? So the thing I'll tell you. So over here you have to imagine with me, okay. So this is the tip. So there are cells there are plant cells over here which has the auxin. Agree? So initially everything was uniform, but now there is much auxin towards one side, that is opposite. Okay. Now when there is too much amount of auxin towards one side, no, what will happen? The cell shape, the cell size which was like this initially, okay, it will now elongate to become like this. So when auxin is there in too much amount, what will happen, children? The cell becomes elongated. Now you only think, this side of cells, okay, now I am rubbing this off and I am going to show you. If on one side the cell size is small, because the amount of auxin is just normal there, everything has moved to this side, and over this side the cells which were small has elongated. So when one side becomes elongated, it will slowly do not have space, and which is why the whole plant will be slowly bending towards the sun. Agreed? It will be slowly bending towards the sun, so that this particular side could also get enough amount of sunlight and it could grow. Okay, so that this particular side of the plant could also grow, which is why everything has happened. So as you can see over here, the plant will bend towards that, which is why the shoots which were there, it were going towards that side of the sun. So it is not something which has anything to do with nerve impulse or something like that, because plants do not have a nervous system over there, but they definitely have hormonal control. So over here, hormones are the one which gets activated, which moves. Okay, so how do hormones get activated? There will be certain receptors over there. Okay, so when the sunlight falls on it, these receptors get active, which is why the auxins which are there, they were told that please move towards the opposite side. Please move towards the opposite side and cause cell elongation there. Please write it somewhere that auxin is the one that causes what? Cell elongation. Now when one side, when the auxin is making cell elongation, and the other side the cells are literally small, obviously it will be bending. And this bend will be providing enough amount of sunlight to this particular side as well. Got it? So you have to remember that phototropism, okay, auxin has to play a major role in phototropism. Okay, so for children who do not know to frame the answer properly, this is the answer. In the case of phototropism, when light is detected on one side of the root, okay, so okay, let's right. This is about root. I will be talking about shoot shortly, wait, or I might have it just a second. Just give me a second, children. I can show you now itself so that it does not become a problem for you later on. This is about tendril. Okay, I think I have not put over here. Okay, anyways, I can tell you when I teach about Thigmnotropism. Okay, when I teach about Thigmnotropism, I will be talking about the answer for Phototropism as well, because both of them somewhat work in a similar manner. Okay, I will tell you how to frame your answer. So this is for root as of now. I don't think this is very much important for you to study in the case of boats. So they won't ask you about how auxin plays a major role in phototropism. In the case of roots, they definitely ask about shoot. So this particular portion you can, if you want, you can miss this. No problem. Okay, this is anyway additional information. Going ahead, let's talk about geotropism. Okay, now geo means it has to do something with the gravity, and you know gravity is like this. This is the direction of the gravity. Okay, now what moves on the direction, on the basis of direction of the gravity? You only think. You only think, what is that something that moves on the basis of gravity? So over here I am going to show you a video, okay, but for that you have to understand that here they are going opposite to the direction of the gravity. And what is that something that is going opposite to the direction of gravity, and what is that something that is going towards the direction of the gravity, that you have to tell me, okay? So they have tilted the whole container like this, and they have kept other container like this as well. Okay. Now basically without much suspense, I'll just tell you. So over here, if you have seen the shoot that is there, okay, the direction of gravity is this, the shoot is going upwards. So which is the one that shows negative geotropism? It will be the shoot. But this time the roles have reversed. What about the roots, children? The roots are showing positive geotropism. They will be going towards the soil. They are going within the soil, that means towards the gravity. So roots are the one that shows positive geotropism, and the shoots are the one that shows what? Negative geotropism. Now this particular video could be a better example for phototropism. Why phototropism? Because over here, just imagine the sun is like that on this particular side. Ayyo, where is it? The sun is there, just imagine that it is there on this particular side. So over here, the shoot will be going towards that. Wherever the sun is, the shoot, even though the container is totally tilted, the shoot will be growing towards the sun. Okay, which means the shoot is showing what? Positive phototropism. Whereas the roots, if you do not know, I'll tell you, the roots definitely will be growing downwards, because they are going to show what? Negative phototropism. If you see the same example for geotropism, it's exact similar, okay? Exact similar, just you think that gravity is towards downwards, which is why the roots are going downwards. Now, if you talk about shoots, okay, gravity is going downwards, but the shoots will be definitely going upwards because they show negative geotropism. So this particular thing can be an example for phototropism as well as geotropism as well. Okay, I hope geotropism is also clear. Please remember, geo means gravity. Over here they are talking about gravity. So the question could come as gravitropism. So please do not get confused. The same thing itself, they have just changed the terms in a small format. Okay, now chemotropism. But before that I want to give an example. So over here, just think, there's a plant. Okay, this is the pictorial representation, and the plant is like this with the roots growing like this. Okay, but now the plant is tilted. Okay, the whole pot is tilted, and the shoot is going upwards, the root is going downwards, and they are asking you, this particular plant is showing, okay, shoots show negative phototropism, okay, and root shows positive geotropism. Is it correct or is it false? Is it correct or is it false? So shoots show negative phototropism. It is wrong, because shoot is showing positive phototropism. It is moving towards the sun. So this particular statement is wrong. But over here, root is definitely showing positive geotropism because it is going towards the gravity anyways, even if the sun is present over there. Okay, so even if it was written shoot show positive geotropism, and they have not mentioned that the root is also showing what? Negative phototropism, still the statement will be correct. So for roots, either it can be negative phototropism or it can be positive geotropism, the same thing works. So they can give you a picture and you have to analyze and tell which one of them is correct. So over here, look for the details. It is very, very, very important. Okay. Yes, now we can go ahead for chemotropism. So as of now, Nastic movements is done, is the non-diastral movement. Example, Thigmnonasty, Photonasty, Thermonasty, and everything is there. Now we are talking about tropical movements, and in that we have covered two tropical movements. One is phototropism and the second one is geotropism or gravitropism. Phototropism, in that, what is the major, which is the hormone that plays a major role? It is auxin. Okay, it causes cell elongation. You will see about it later on as well. Now when you talk about chemotropism, the stimuli, tell me children, what is the stimuli? The stimuli is chemical. Now you have to frame your answers like this. What is chemotropism? It is the directional movement, children, of the plant part in response to what children? Chemicals. Here the stimuli is chemical. So the directional movement, or you can say it's a directional response of the plant part in response to chemical stimuli. Okay. Positive chemotropism is shown by whom? The pollen tube formation. If you have seen the pollen tube formation, you might be knowing that they are going towards the ovary. I will be showing you that. Negative chemotropism, that will be much easy for you to understand as of now. So this let's keep on hold. Let's study this. Negative chemotropism is shown by roots that move away from toxic chemical source. For just imagine, so in the soil I have put something very toxic, which is not very much favorable for the roots to grow. What will happen? The roots will slowly move away from that chemical source. So this shows that since it is going away, this is a negative response. That means there is a negative chemotropism that is happening over there. Now let's see what is there about positive chemotropism. So over here, this is the ovary, this is the these are the ovule, and just a second. Yeah. The pollen once comes and lands of this, and they make a pollen tube towards the ovary. But who is the one that says, hey, pollen tube, you have to come towards the ovary? So basically what happens in this particular region of the plant, okay, in this particular region of the plant, they are releasing certain chemoattractants. So properly let's write it. So as of now, okay, you see. Okay, I have already mentioned over here. So ovule within the ovary of the flower produce chemicals known as what? Chemoattractants, chemical attractants. Okay. Now these chemoattractants are often sugars or other molecules that serve as signal to guide the pollen tube towards the ovule. So now the pollen tube which was there, it will be forming towards the ovule because there is too much amount of chemoattractants which are being released from this particular end. Okay, now please do not be very much focused on the GIF over there. The pollen tube grows in the direction where the concentration of chemoattractants is higher. So basically at this particular area, the amount of chemoattractants are more, which is why the pollen tube is moving towards this. Okay. If chemoattractants were not released over here, the pollen tube probably would not have that guide to move towards this particular site. Now, if pollen tube is not coming to this particular site, your pollen, what is it carrying? The male gamete. So the male gamete and the female gamete is over here. They won't be able to fuse. This guy has to come down over here. That's when the fusion can take place. So if there is no tube that is being formed, obviously you cannot expect fusion to happen over there as well. I hope it's clear. Now that is the example of what? Chemotropism. As we can see, positive chemotropism, pollen tube formation, negative chemotropism, roots moving away from something very toxic. Now, next very important thing is our hydrotropism. What do you mean by hydrotropism? Again, how can you frame hydrotropism? It is a directional movement of the plant part in response to what? Water source. Can it be positive and negative? Yes, it can be positive and negative. So positive, I can tell you, when obviously there is a dry area, okay, and you put some water towards one corner of the soil, the roots will be growing towards that area. Why? Because it is showing positive positive hydrotropism. If I am messing up with the words, please forgive me. Okay. So basically, if the roots are going towards the waterborne areas, obviously that means they are showing positive hydrotropism. Now you imagine that flood has come. In floody region, do you think that the plants can survive, the roots can survive, because they obviously need oxygen? At this point of time, either the roots die or they show negative hydrotropism, that is, they move away from the source of water. So if your if your soil is having too much amount of water, probably they will come out of the soil as well because of this particular reason. Mostly they die, but some variety of plants, they definitely come out as well. Okay. So, positive hydrotropism, plant moving towards the water source, negative hydrotropism, plant moving away from the waterlogged areas. Now, this is one thing that is given in your okay. So, in your NCERT textbook, now they have asked you to set up an experiment demonstrating hydrotropism. I think the question is over here as well. I will be showing you that. So, in that, you have to show that the water is in one particular area only. You cannot show that water is everywhere. If you show water is everywhere, the root will be dividing everywhere. If you show water is at one particular place, you have to show the root is moving towards that particular place as well. That means you are showing positive hydrotropism. So this was the picture. Okay, since it is not very clear, I can just explain to you with the amount of thing that is there. So when water is there in a normal area, okay, when water is there, the roots are going to grow in all direction because water is everywhere. It's all fine. Now you keep a clay pot. Okay, this particular pot is made up of clay, children. Now you know, if it is a clay pot, what will happen? The water which is there, it can slowly seep out towards this particular soil which is there. Now when this happens, obviously there will be water content in the soil which is in there. So the plant will also be moving towards this particular area. But you have to maintain, you do not put plastic bottle of plastic cup over there. In that case, the water won't be moving out and the whole experiment will be going. So you have to say that you have put a clay pot and you have to mention that there is no water anywhere else. There is more amount of water over here, which is why it is growing towards that area. So this is why they are showing positive hydrotropism. I think I have made a written format as well. I will be showing you if I have it over here, or else I can give it to you later as well. Okay, so that was about hydrotropism. Now going ahead with the last one that we are having, and it again is a very important thing along with, so in all the Nastic movements, I feel there are all the trophic movements, I feel there are three trophic movements that are very important. Phototropism, okay, and then hydrotropism, and then thigmnotropism. So photo and thigmo can be given 1 and 2 position, hydro will be given 3rd position as well. So over here, in thigmo, let's see what happens. It is a directional movement in response to touch stimulus. Okay, in response to touch stimulus. So you might have seen tendrils, right? Tendrils, they grow. When tendrils, they grow, they move towards the area where there is some support. When they see the support, they coil around it. Here the support is acting as a touch stimulus. Okay, so thigmo, as the term suggests, it is responsible for touch. So it is a directional movement in response to touch stimulus. Positive thigmotropism is shown by tendrils helping, tendrils helping in the growth of plant with the help of the support. So when the plant is going with the help of the support, this is showing positive thigmotropism. Okay, when you talk about negative thigmotropism, tendrils moving away from the unsuitable support. For just example, just think that there are thorny plants. Okay, tendrils goes and touches it and feels that no, this is not a good surface. Now it will move away from it. It won't go and coil around there. That is what is the meaning of this particular statement, that is negative thigmotropism. Okay, now how does this happen? Over here also you have a major role of this thing, what do you call, auxin. Okay, auxin plays a major role over here as well. And for this I have the question. I will be showing you the question first and then we will be moving ahead with anything. So this is a question from NCERT. Okay, how do auxin promote the growth of tendril around the support? So just imagine that this is a tendril. You have so much amount of auxin distributed uniformly across the tip. Okay, now there's a support, the auxin moves away from the support, just how the auxin was moving away from the source of sunlight. Okay, now when the auxins move from this to this side, what will happen? The cells which are over here will be elongated in comparison to these cells. Now slowly, because of this elongation, it will coil around the support. Did you get it? So over here, this is how you can answer. So when tendrils comes in contact to any other support, the part of the tendril in contact does not grow as rapidly as the part away from the object. Okay, it is saying the part of the tendril that is in contact does not grow as fast as the part which is not in contact with the support, due to auxin secreted moves away from the object in contact. Because auxin which are being secreted, it moves away from the object in contact. Now this rapid growth on one side causes tendrils to circle around the object. Now if you change the statement, if you put down here as shoot, when shoot come in contact or not come in contact, shoot when it comes in the presence of or you can say, just a second, as promised. Shoot when in the presence of sunlight, okay, will be, does not, okay, or you can write the side of the shoot, that is, okay, side of the shoot which is receiving sunlight will be having lesser auxin, be having lesser auxin than the side of the shoot that does not receive the sunlight. And then you can say the statement, that is, in here one side will be showing growth, whereas the other side won't be showing growth. You can say one side will be having enough amount of cell elongation. That is more correct, because auxin is responsible for cell elongation. Okay, if you want, I can put this answer in the comment section. That will be much better, and that I will be also having time to think and properly give you in points. So I will be giving you in points there, but I think you have got the basic idea of how things work over here. Okay, for tendrils you can use the same statement, but you can, instead of rapid growth, you can say cell elongation. That will be much better. Okay, cell elongation on one side. And you have to please make the diagrams as well when these type of questions are asked to you. Now, where are we? Let's go back to where we were. Okay, so we were done with Thigmotropism also, okay, where we spoke about tendrils and how auxin has to play a major role over here. Now, select from the following the correct statement about tropic movement in plants. Tell me about tropic movement in plants. It is due to stimulus of touch and temperature. Does it have anything to do with touch and temperature? You tell me. Correct statements about tropic movements and plants. Let's see, touch and temperature, let's keep it there. It does not depend upon the direction of the stimulus received. It is like that? Is it like that? It does not depend on the direction of the stimulus? No, it does depend on the direction of the stimulus. It is observed only in roots and not in stems. Again, this is wrong. It can, roots and stem, they can show positive and negative effects of tropic movements. It is a growth related movement. It will be the most apt one. It is due to stimulus of touch and temperature. It's not just touch and temperature, there could be something else as well, which is why this is also wrong. But it is growth related movement. This is entirely correct, and this have come in your question paper. Okay, this has come in your board question paper. So these information, as I said, it's very important. Okay. Now, welcome to the world of plant hormones. So we have just spoke about auxin and none of the other plant hormones, but they are also equally important. So let's see all of them. Okay, so we have almost 5 of them: auxins, cytokinins, gibberellins, and abscisic acid, ethylene. So among them, 3 of them, okay, 3 of them, children, they are growth promoting hormones. They promote growth. They say, plant, you have to grow. But in our life, along with positive attitude, we also along with positive experiences, we also need to have negative experiences, because it shapes you all. So, which is why over here also they have growth inhibiting hormones as well. They have growth inhibiting hormones. So we have 3 hormones that are growth promoting and 3 hormones which are what? Growth inhibiting. Okay, so abscisic acid and ethylene is one of them. Auxin, cytokinins and gibberellin are the growth promoting ones. You will see how. Let's see. Let's talk about auxin first. So my dearest children, auxins are responsible for cell elongation. As I said, if the cell size is this, auxin will make it this big. Okay, that is what you mean by cell elongation, and cell elongation is very much important when you talk about trophic movements, where things has to move towards that area. So here cell elongation is important. Auxin promotes cell elongation, influencing the growth of stems and leaves. Apart from that, they are involved in tropical movements, okay, which is why it is known as tropisms. Auxins are responsible for phototropism, growth towards light, and gravitropism, that is response to gravity, and also thigmotropism, and a lot of tropical movements. If you remember this, I'll be more than happy. So as you can see, cell elongation is making the plant grow in some or the other way, which is why I say that auxin is a growth promoting hormone. So auxin is not alone. Auxin also has other friends. Gibberellin is there. So gibberellin is also actually gibberellic acid, okay, but the friends they call gibberellin. What is the use of gibberellin, children? So as you can see over here, the seed is not germinating. It is giving out a plumule radical, and then a new shoot is being going over there. So basically it is responsible for seed germination. Isn't it growth inducing? Obviously it is promoting growth. So they break seed dormancy. Dormancy as in when something is dormant. For example, I sit like this. I sit like this for so long. I'm in dormant state where my metabolic activities, everything is like tap. Okay, at this, not me, I cannot give myself as an example, but you can think of a seed, okay, that is used in your house. If you have seen these seeds, when they are put in water, they slowly, after some time, they slowly give out what? The plumule and the radicle, that is the future shoot and the root. Why? Because now they are getting enough good atmosphere to grow. Until now, there was a very bad atmosphere for them, but now at this point of time, when they are getting enough amount of water, this is perfect for them to grow. So until then, they were dormant, but when water is there, it is going to quickly activate a lot of reactions in the seed such that they will break the dormancy and they will germinate. So over here, the hormone which plays a major role is gibberellin, and as you can see over here, it is also responsible for blooming up of flowers as well. Okay, so that is also one thing, but if you can remember this particular thing, I will be more than happy. So you can remember gibberellin and germination. Gibberellin and germination both start with G. Okay, going ahead, I am cytokinin. Cyto as in cell, kinin as in when something is dividing. So this particular hormone is responsible for cell division. Now you only think, if cell is this much, if they are dividing, there are a lot of cells, that means obviously some amount of growth is definitely happening over here. Agree? So cell division is taking place. So cytokinin stimulates cell division, promoting overall plant growth. Apart from that, they are responsible for leaf senescence, as in they delay aging and death of the leaves. They do not want the leaves to die, they just want to sustain there. So you can think cytokinins are example of all those beauty creams and stuff like that which make people look younger forever. Okay, but I'll be more than happy if you remember this thing, because this is much more important. Okay, so cytokinin is for cell division. Okay, you tell me, auxin is for cell elongation and for the tropical movements. Gibberellin is for seed germination, okay, for inducing seed germination. Cytokinin is for cell division. All of them, they are growth promoting only, so they are growth promoting hormones, 3 of them. Okay, as you can see over here, the cells are being dividing. Going ahead, we have abscisic acid, and this thing that was done by gibberellin, it has been stopped over here. Germination is being stopped over here. So with this diff only, you can understand what do they do. So abscisic means they are making everything absent. So over here, seed germination is absent. Okay. So basically, I'll explain. Okay, seed dormancy, they are the ones that induce a seed dormancy. So I say ABA is the stress hormone. What is it, children? It is known as a stress hormone. Now that is an important piece of information. Okay, so my student in previous 10th class, he said that you can remember like Abba. Okay, people pray, right? Abba. So during stress only they pray. So similarly over here, ABA, that is abscisic acid, you call it ABA itself, okay, which is why I said Abba. You call them because when you are in the stressful condition. So this is a stress hormone. Now what does the stress hormone help you with? For example, I do not have any, I am a seed, I do not have any condition to germinate. At this point of time, I want to be in dormant state. So please give seed dormancy to me, that power of seed dormancy to me. This is done by ABA. So the opposite of germination. So ABA induces and maintains seed dormancy, preventing germination under unfavorable condition, because even if it germinates by any chance, can it survive? It's an unfavorable condition, dear, it cannot survive. Which is why in life we need certain time for good things to happen. We say good things to, it takes time for good things to happen, right? This is what exactly is happening. Now, drought tolerance. ABA helps plant respond to water stress by promoting stomatal closure and reducing water loss. I think you have studied in life processes. I have told about ABA, stress hormone. So this point of time also, You do not want too much amount of water to go out. So at this point, you make the stomata and everything close. So this response is also done by ABA. So drought tolerance, why? Because in drought condition there is no water and you want to save water. So if you keep the stomata closed, then only water can be saved. So this information, that is, hey stomata, please close yourself, that is given by ABA itself. Okay. Now stress response, any type of stress response is being handled by our abscisic acid, and since obviously it is not promoting growth, it is known as growth inhibiting hormone. So abscisic acid is a growth inhibiting hormone, growth itself is absent. Okay. And spelling of abscisic acid, please check. Abs, okay, we have abs and then put cisic, and that cisic, C-I-S-I-C is the spelling. Hi, I am ethylene. Now ethylene, you will love ethylene. Why? Because you might have seen that, okay, there is a very ripe banana that is kept in between unripened ones. The other ones also become ripe. Okay, so you can remember, you can think it like, since it is growth inhibiting, I have to go in a negative aspect. Just think, one bad person is there in your gang. There are high chances that everyone comes in that particular category itself later on. I won't say bad person, there is nothing like bad person, but yeah, for example, okay. So fruit ripening. Ethylene accelerates the ripening of the fruits by promoting the breakdown of cell walls and chlorophyll degradation. So you do not have to go in that intense way. At least if you can remember this, I am more than happy. So it is a one that helps in fruit ripening. Okay, and this is a gaseous hormone. Please remember that as well. Ethylene is a gaseous hormone. So ethylene triggers leaf and flower senescence as well. So one thing that was stopped by cytokinin, they said please not cause aging of leaves, let it just sustain like that. Now the beauty products are not working, their leaves and the flower, everything is going to shut down and inhibits root elongation, lead to, okay, these things we don't need to remember. This please remember, and it's a gaseous hormone, which is why the ripened ones release it. Okay, so total 5 hormones, 3 promoting, 2 growth inhibiting. I hope this is pakka clear. Now you tell me children, which one is responsible for causing seed germination? Put it down in the answer box. Which one is responsible for seed germination? Is it growth inhibiting hormone or growth promoting hormone? That also. No. Okay, so we have a question. What are the plant hormones? Give one example each of the plant hormone that promotes growth. Auxin promotes growth, inhibits growth. Tell me one hormone that inhibits growth in the box. Can you tell me one that is responsible for inhibiting growth? Ethylene or abscisic acid. Promote cell division, one that helps in cell division. The word that starts with cell, cyto. It is what? Cytokinin. Promotes the growth of tendril around the support. Tell me. The one that helps in the tendril to grow around the support. Which one is that? Children, we learned about it. It is the auxin. It is what? We have auxin. Clear? Now questions from NCERT is there. Before studying that, I want chalo, let's do this and then we will take a break. Okay, quick break. How is the movement of leaves of sensitive plant different from movements of shoot towards light? Now all these kind of questions, no, they are simple, but you need a lot of time to think, because we are more prone to learning complicated stuff, which is why we lose the information to write in easy stuff. So movement of leaves of sensitive plant, that is sensitive plant Mimosa pudica, how it is different from movement of shoot towards light. First thing that I get is sensitive plant Mimosa pudica is showing nastic movement, whereas over here the shoot is growing towards the light. It is a growth movement, yeah, and it is shoot is going towards the light. So basically this is what? A tropic movement as well. It is dependent on light. So it is a nastic movement which does not depend on the direction of the stimulus, Mimosa pudica. It is a tropic movement which depends on the direction of the stimulus applied. The stimulus here is touch, sensitive plant Mimosa pudica, touch, stimulus is light. It is caused by the sudden loss of water from the swelling at the base of the leaves. So basically there is a whole set of thing that is happening in the in the Mimosa pudica plant when there is closure and opening of leaf. Okay, there is a swollen base to which all the leaves are attached. This is known as pulvinus. Pulvinus. So the amount of water, and if the amount of water is much, if the amount of water is less, this is the one that controls the opening and the closing. Okay, and this is again controlled by other hormones as well. Okay, so basically it is caused by sudden loss of water from the swelling at the base of the leaf. So when water is lost, that's when they close. Okay, and how water is lost, this is again an action that is done by hormones itself. So it is caused by unequal growth of two sides of the shoot. You know that. Why there is an unequal growth? Because auxins was moving towards one side. So that is one thing. So this is something that is new. Okay, can you remember? It's there in your NCERT book textbook, and this swollen base is known as pulvinus, children. And the loss of water from this swollen swollen base is responsible for closing of the what thing? Our Mimosa pudica leaves. Okay, it is not a growth movement, because you know Nastic movement is not a growth movement, whereas here it is definitely a growth movement. So over here, these points over here, this particular point you have got, if you know Nastic movement and Tropic movement really well. If you were not knowing, obviously you won't be able to frame this point as well. Okay, so please go through it. Now going ahead, what are plant hormones, children? Plant hormones, all of them together, are known as phytohormones. Okay, not phyto, P-H-Y, phyto. Okay, phytohormones are naturally occurring organic substances. These are synthesized in one part of the plant body and translocated to the other part. It is formed in one part and then it is moved around to as and when required. Okay, what are the examples? You have to make proper chart. Okay, say auxin, gibberellin, this and that. According to the mass, if you need to write the function, please write one-liner function of them as well. Say they are growth promoting or growth inhibiting. If you can make in tabular format as well. Okay, like for example, there is X, there is Y and Z. They are growth promoting, and then write the function over here, one liner, and then growth inhibitor, same thing. You can write like that as well. Okay, now this we already practiced, how tendrils move around. Okay, I told you, right, they ask you to demonstrate an experiment, so over here you have to use this. So while they are asking you to demonstrate, make the picture and also write this. Plant a seedling in a vessel containing soil, adjacent to the seedling put a porous pot containing water, leave the setup for a few days. Instead of porous pot, you can put a clay pot. Okay, observation, what do you observe? On examining the roots of the seedling, it is observed that roots bend towards the source of water and do not grow straight, because if they go straight, they won't have water. Over here there is no water, right? There is no water over here. Going ahead, what is the inference from this? It confirms that plants show hydrotropism as a root bend towards the porous pot of water or the clay pot. Hydrotropism is a plant growth response in which direction of growth is determined by the stimulus of the gradient in water concentration. So you don't have to make it this complicated. Just write hydrotropism is a growth movement in response to what? Water. As simple as that. Okay, how does phototropism occur in plant? This was the one that I was talking about. Okay, the movement in any part of the plant is due to light is known as phototropism. First thing, the shoot of the plant shows positive phototropism and root shows negative phototropism. Phototropism in plants occurs through redistribution of growth promoting hormone, that is auxin, in response to light. Photoreceptors detect the light. Okay, so photoreceptors, I told there are photoreceptors at the tip of the shoots and everything, like they detect the light, triggering a movement of auxin away from the light source. This leads to uneven growth. Now I don't have to write the answer for you, I have already written it over here. So basically it triggers a movement of auxin away from the light source. This leads to uneven growth, causing the plant to bend or grow towards the light. So one more point that you can put is auxin is promoting what? Cell elongation. Unequal cell elongation in one side. Okay, or just remove the term unequal, It is promoting cell elongation in one side, whereas it is not promoting cell elongation in other side, and since it is unequal, it is causing the bending. Okay. Now that's all for your plant hormones. As of now, children, I hope you all have your water bottles near you. You can take your water bottle, drink some water, and then we will start off with animals as well. Okay, chutkus, the break is done. Let's begin. What are electrical impulses? Do you know about electrical impulses? Well, an electrical impulse refers to sudden and rapid movement of electrical charges within the organism cells or whatever. Now with this, obviously there might be nothing fitted in your head, let me tell you. So we say that an electrical impulse is created when for suppose there is, okay, this is some cell, this is some cell which is obviously has to be neuron, but I'm not making it properly as of now. So basically there are so many ions outside, children, and because of certain changes in the permeability of the membrane of this particular cell, the ions they move in. The ions they move in and change the concentration of the ions inside. It can be less or it can be more. These ions can move out as well. Now this is what you call as electrical impulse. When there's a sudden movement of ions in and out of the cell causing certain changes in the cell, this is what you mean by electrical impulse. So it refers to sudden and rapid movements of electrical charges within a living organism cell or tissue. It is known as electrical impulse. It starts when something gets in. Okay, it moves around when something goes out, in, and things like that happen. But to initiate it, the ions has to move inside a cell. Okay. Now, they are primarily generated by movement of ions, which are electrically charged particles across the cell membranes. So obviously you need ions, as I said. The ions, example of ions, sodium ions, potassium ions, and things like that. Now even if it's not clear now, do not worry, we will be talking about it in very detail. But just for you to understand, in animals, as I said, nervous system is involved, and nervous system to work, they need the role of ions in them, and these ions are the one that causes electrical impulse. And what I mean by electrical impulse is what? When the ions, they get inside, they barge inside certain cells, do some changes over there, cause a certain reaction such that it could affect the next cell as well. This is what you know, this is what is known as what? Electrical impulse. Okay. Now, so in unicellular organism, okay, in unicellular organism, there is very simple way for controlling everything. For example, amoeba sees food, okay, it goes towards that. It just have certain movements in its body, which is why it goes towards. Simple multicellular organisms also have like that. But when I talk about complex multicellular organisms like us, we cannot work like that. We cannot work like that. There's a coordinated movement that is required to move towards that area where the food or anything is there. Okay, and now over here, we have two systems that is controlling us. One is our nervous system and the other one is our endocrine system. Endocrine system means the role of hormones plays a major role here. Okay, it's all about hormones. It's the world of hormones. I told, right, animals work on two things, nervous system as well as endocrine system. Endocrine system is all about hormones. Nervous system is the one that we are going to study as of now. Okay, so let's see the nervous system. Okay, your nervous system is divided into two things, okay. One is the central nervous system and the other one is the peripheral nervous system, okay. Central nervous system again is divided into two parts. You have brain and your spinal cord. So this particular portion that you see over here, this is your brain, children, and the one that is over here, it is the spinal cord. Now where is the spinal cord? It is over here in the back side of your body, okay. Now apart from the CNS, that is the central nervous system, obviously it cannot work alone. They're just located there, okay, at the topmost part or basically until our waist region. But what about the other regions? Say for example, I want to move my hand, I'm able to move now. I want to move my leg, I'm able to do that. Why? Because there are so many nerves that are going to arise from the central nervous system as well as from the brain as well as the spinal cord. So these set of nerves that are going to arise from my CNS, it is known as peripheral nervous system. They comprise the peripheral nervous system. They are the one that carries impulses to and from the CNS. So they are the ones who are responsible for carrying the signals to and from the CNS. So you can think it of as a company. Company have the head. Okay, a company has the head. So as of now, my company will also have a head. But over here, I am the one that is working for this particular company, providing you the information. I am the teacher, right? So we are the nerves, but there has to be someone who thought of making up this company, who thought that this was the thing that we actually want to do. So that is the CNS. Okay. Now there are cranial nerves and spinal nerves. What do you mean by cranial nerves? Cranial nerves are the ones that arise from your brain. You have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Talking about the spinal nerve that arises from your spinal cord, as the name suggests, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves as well. Will you be able to remember it? So, our whole nervous system, children, is divided into two, CNS and PNS. Okay. CNS, that is central nervous system, is made up of your brain and the spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is again subdivided. Basically, it consists of all the nerves that arise from your brain and spinal cord. Cranial nerves are 12 in number, they arise from just from your brain. Spinal nerves are 31 in number, they arise from your spinal cord. Okay. Now, again, what is an electric impulse? So, this is an easy, okay. So, as of now, children, what is the thing that we are going to talk about? So, inside your brain, in your spinal cord, everything is working because you have the basic unit there, which is known as what? Neuron. If neurons were not there, they are not connected to each other, nothing of this could work properly. So, in for an electric circuit, for things to work, you need wire connections, right? They are not working. If one wire is breaking, do you think anything else can work? No. The same thing applies over here as well. In our nervous system, for things to work, we need proper connection of neurons, which is the basic unit. And we are going to study the structure of neurons first, and then we are going to go ahead. So, over here, this is the whole structure of neuron. I just want to give a brief intro about them, and then we will talk about them in detail. Okay. So, this particular region that you see, this is the major cell body. Okay, where did it go? Yeah, this is the major cell body. This is where the nucleus and everything is there. You know, normal cells look like this, but this cell has a different shape. It has elongated shape. Okay, it is the most longest cell of our body. So basically, in neurons, everything of their organelles are present over here. This area is known as cell body. Okay, now cell body, since normally we have cytoplasm and everything, but over here the cytoplasm are kind of having in projections. They have projections, and these projections are known as what, children? They are known as dendrites. These projections that you see over here, they are known as dendrites. So, you have dendrites over here, you have cell body over here. Now, from cell body, one particular projection goes very long. This particular projection is known as axon. What do you call it? You call it axon. Now, axon, again, they also have axon terminals. Okay, that is, they also end up here, and they have terminals which you see over here, and these branches are known as telodendria. Telodendria because they look like tree. Okay, that's why telodendria. As of now, you can just remember axon, it goes there. There is axon terminals. What do you say? Axon terminals. Now, the axon terminals, no, children, if you see, this is the axon terminal, then all of them will be having some knob like this. Okay, they have some knob like this, and there will be other neuron on the other side. So, one neuron ends, other neuron starts. So, basically there is a knob over here, and this particular space that you see in between one end of the neuron and one start of other neuron, what do you call this end as? Sorry, what do you call this space as? You call this space as synapse. What do you call? You call this space as what? Synapse. So, over here I want you to imagine there is one neuron, another neuron, but over here there are spaces, small little spaces, and you call this space as what? Synapse. So, what happens in synapse? Basically, when some neuron is excited, there is some ions getting inside, ions getting outside. In this way, they are processing information, they are passing it over here, and there comes a time where from these knobs certain chemicals are being released. Some chemicals are being released in the synapse. Now, these chemicals goes and acts on the receptors which are there on the dendrites. For suppose, so over here, if there is a knob, from which chemicals are released. Now these chemicals are going to attach on the receptors that are present on the dendrites. Now there will be a whole set of actions going around in the next neuron. So this knob which is present at the axon terminal, what do I call it? What do I call it? Presynaptic knob. Okay, it's before synapse, which is why I call it presynaptic knob. Okay, which has all the chemicals there. Now we can get into each of them. So as I said, there are dendrites, and dendrites also branch. They have dendritic branches. So what are those, children? They are protoplasmic projections of the cell body. So cell body is there, they project themselves. This is known as dendrite. What do? Dendrites contain receptor sites for the neurotransmitters, allowing them to receive and transmit signals to cell body. What are neurotransmitters? I spoke about chemicals. Over here. These chemicals, children, I call them neurotransmitters. These chemicals are the one which I call as neurotransmitters. Okay, so these neurotransmitters are being released, goes and attached to the receptors on the dendrites and creates a whole new action over there. So allowing them to receive and transmit signal to the cell body. What is the next part that we have? We have the cell body. So receptor sites are there, receives and passes on the information. Now what is the cell body? Cell body is also known as the cyton, or it is known as the soma. Okay, what do you call it? Cyton, soma as well. It is a central part of the neuron that contains the nucleus and various other cell organelles, but let me remind you, they do not have centrioles. Okay, neurons are the one that do not have centrioles. Why, children? Why they do not have centrioles? Because if they had centrioles, they would have probably divided. Centrioles are the ones which are responsible for cell division. If you have studied with me previously, you might be knowing it really well, and if you do not know, let me tell you, children, it is responsible for spindle fiber formation and cell division. Now if centriole guy is not there, cell division wouldn't be happening, which is why we say the number of neurons remains same in our body. It can go down, but it won't increase the number, which is why we often forget a lot of things as well. Okay, as we grow, we do not remember lots of things because all our neurons are getting degenerated each and every time. You're not sleeping, you're not eating properly, you're under stress, lots of things, factors affect your neurons. So please take proper sleep, do not use mobile late. Now over here, yeah, so this was the thing. So cell body has everything except what? Your centrioles and things like that. Now what is the cell body responsible for? It is responsible for receiving the signal from the dendrites, okay, and then transmitting them to what? Axon. You have to transmit the signal to what? The next part, that is axon, okay, in the form of action potential or nerve impulse if the signals are strong. Now what do you mean by that? So for here, for you to understand, I don't know if you will be able to understand the whole thing, whole concept, but with whatever limited amount of information we are having, let's try. Okay, so this is my way of drawing neuron. I know you might have different ways, you can draw it in your way as well, but I find it to be really easy. Okay. Okay, children, basically what happens, as I said, there are receptors on the dendrites. Yeah. Now, these receptors, when they receive the neurotransmitter, okay, what happens? There will be certain ion channels which will be opening up. Okay. Now, when these ion channels open up, no, there will be so many. Okay, but before that, one scenario that is before that, the normal resting membrane potential. So there is a membrane potential which is minus 70 MV, millivolts. This is what? Normal resting potential. It's kind of negative, very much negative inside the neuron, or basically you can say in the membrane potential that is very negative, it's minus 70 MV. Now what happens when receptor binds to the neurotransmitter, or basically neurotransmitter binds to the receptors, the ions which are there outside, all of them, we can get inside because the ion channels which were there, they opened up. So now there will be so much amount of Na, there will be so much amount of sodium ions, such that this particular thing that you see, it will now convert to minus 55 millivolts. Okay, so it has got depolarized, it is minus 55 millivolts. Now this point of time, the action potential is generated. What do you mean by action potential? Basically there will be lots and lots of ion channels opening and closing and things like that happening. So basically it will go more, so many ion channels will be opening it now. There will be more intake of Na, okay, it will go to 30, also it will go to 30 millivolts as well. Okay, that is plus 30. So from minus it has traveled to plus. At this point of time there will be other ion channels, which will be opening up. Okay, there will be other ion channels which will be opening, that is potassium. Okay, so the potassium will be moving out, lots and lots of things are happening in a way that it's fluctuating from this to this to this, again to something minus, goes up to let's say hyperpolarization state, where it goes below this also. Okay, so in this way, when I am saying this is happening, I mean basically the initial point where the lots of Na came inside and it caused the polarization to be minus 55 MV, that is, now there is some amount of positivity. Okay, you see from minus 70 it has gone to minus 55, so it's a bit positive over here. At this point of time, since the action potential is since the signal is very strong, this will create an action potential. There will be a lot of ion channels opening and closing up simultaneously, one by one, depending upon the area. Okay, now all this thing obviously I cannot afford to explain as of now. If I can, if you won't, tell me in the comment section. I will be making a 15 or 10 minutes, not 15 minutes, a 10 minutes video for the same, if you want, later on. So this is known as a strong signal. If it is able to make this particular change, okay, if the signal is able to make this particular change over here, that's when action potential is generated and is being carried along. Now when it reaches the axon terminals at the end, okay, at the end over here, again there will be certain ion channel, that is calcium ion channels, that is opening up. Calcium gets inside, makes the chemicals that is over there to release outside. All of this thing happens if this particular signal is strong, and if this particular signal is strong, it creates an action potential across the whole neuron and it travels down. Okay, so which is the exact thing that is given over here for receiving the signal from the dendrites and transmitting them to the axon in the form of action potential or nerve impulse if the signals are strong. What do you mean by if the signals are strong? If it is getting converted, if the membrane potential is going from this to this is considered to be strong enough. And it is also responsible for maintaining the cell's metabolic function. Why? Because it has all the parts, okay, all the different organelles as well. So dendrites children have receptors, they receive the neurotransmitters. Now the signal is transferred to cell body. From the cell body, if the signal is strong, it is an action potential is sent, okay, to the axon, okay, if only the signal is strong. Now what is axon, children? Axon is a long slender projection with usually knob-like terminal ends. The cell membrane of axon, okay, the cell membrane, no, this is cell membrane, obviously this is a cell, so it has a cell membrane, the whole thing is a cell, so it will be having a cell membrane, but this particular part, cell membrane, you call as axolemma and the cytoplasm as axoplasm. Now that's not a very important piece of information, but if they are asking you to define the structure of neuron properly, you can give certain informations like this. So axolemma for the cell membrane and the cytoplasm is known as what? Axoplasm. Now, since it is axon, now what is the use of axon? They carry electrical impulses. What are electrical impulses? I told you, right, when ions change, the movement of ions causes something happen, makes something happen in a cell's body, a set of reaction is known as electrical impulse. Now they carry electrical impulse, or what do you call them? Action potential, away from the cell body to the axon terminals, causing the release of what? Neurotransmitters contained in the presynaptic knob of the axon terminal. So presynaptic knob as in, over here. So if this is an axon, at the before that, okay, this is a zoomed version of it. So you can see this is a presynaptic knob. This area that you see is the synapse, and over here, as you can see over here, there are so many globules that are having enzymes. These globules are vesicles coming and attaching over this particular area and releasing all the enzymes over there. So this area is known as synapse, and this particular knob is known as presynaptic knob, children. Okay, and this is postsynaptic neuron. After synapse, what is the synapse? What is there? This is the postsynaptic neuron. I hope you got it. Now one more thing I want to tell you, it's not like every time a nerve will be having a nerve at the end. It can be a muscle. It's a very important information. Okay, it can be a muscle, it can be a gland, or it can be another neuron. It can be a muscle, it can be a gland, or it can be another neuron as well. Now what is synapse? Synapse is a minute gap between the terminal portion of axon, okay, of one neuron and the dendrite of the next neuron. Axon of one neuron and dendrite. The neurotransmitter passes through this space to move to the next neuron. Done. Now what are neurotransmitters, children? You need to know it. They are the chemical messengers that transmit signals between the neurons. They are what? Chemical messengers transmit signals between the neurons or from the neurons to other target cells such as muscle cells or gland cells, as I said. Okay. Now, there is something like Schwann cells. It is not mentioned in your NCERT as far as I remember, but again a piece of information is really good for you. So, what is the use of Schwann cells? I told you that there are so many ion channels that is open and close. So, if you think, if it has to pass through all this thing, if there are ion channels all through this particular way, it would have been difficult. It would take much longer time. So, instead of that, why not put Schwann cells over here such that the ions can travel from here and then here and then here and then here. In this way, it will be really fast. Okay. So, the ion channels basically when they are put at this particular location, this location, they will be jumping, not jumping, we say that it's fast, okay, because only these ion channels are going to open up and it is going to cause the whole difference in there. That is the use of Schwann cells. So, there is a single sheath present over the axon made up of Schwann cells. So, these are the Schwann cells which wrap around the, so you only think, okay, you only think that, for example, what do I have? Okay, I have this and I have this, or probably the AC remote. The AC remote is there, okay. This is the neuron and this is my Schwann cell. When it wraps around, no children, if you have seen over here, I'll use this area. This is white in color and it will be more easy for you to understand. Okay. Now, when it wraps over here, you see there are spaces. So, consider one line to be one Schwann cell. This is one Schwann cell, this is another. So, basically this is one Schwann cell only, which is continuingly what? Rotating around the whole thing. So, revolving around the whole thing such that there will be gaps around here. Okay, there will be gaps around here, and these gaps are known as what, children? It is known as nodes of Ranvier. These gaps which are made, nodes of Ranvier. Okay. And one more thing, basically when I say it's wrapping around, it's forming a myelin sheath. Okay, when we say Schwann cell is the one that is responsible for making the myelin sheath, this whole thing that is being formed around, it is known as the myelin sheath. So, in between the spaces of myelin sheath, there is what? Nodes of Ranvier as well. Okay, there is nodes of Ranvier as well. I hope you understood this very small concept. So, you have a Schwann cell which is rotating around. If I have a picture, I can show you. Yeah. So, one Schwann cell moves around. When it moves around, there will be spaces in between. Okay, when it moves around like this, these spaces are known as nodes of Ranvier. Together, the whole thing is known as a myelin sheath. So, myelin sheath is basically made up of Schwann cell itself. Now, there are non-myelinated sheaths as well, which is still made up of Schwann cell. There is a layer of Schwann cell that is something very different. I don't want to get inside that. This itself is something extra. For both, it is not asked, but still I want to tell you. Okay, so you have Schwann cells, and the only role of myelinated sheath or Schwann cells is to increase the pace of electric potential, to increase the signal strength. That's all. Okay, speed of the signal, not the signal strength. to increase the speed of the signal. Now one very important thing, why we need to increase the pace of the signal? Because most of the times our body would have to do some reflex action. And what do you mean by reflex action? This is very important thing from this particular chapter. Reflex action, also known as simply as a reflex, is an automatic and rapid response to a stimulus without the will of an animal. So this is involuntary, children. Please remember, reflex action, it is obviously involuntary. Now if you are doing it voluntarily, that is not a reflex action. Okay. For example, this is a hot pan. You keep your hand on the hot pan and you just keep like that. You're not doing the action, it's under your brain's control, you are controlling yourself. Now this is not a reflex action. Reflex action is when you touch a hot and you're like, oh my god, it's too hot. That is something that is known as reflex action. Okay, that has to be involuntary, it has to be automatic, it has to be rapid. So all these informations are very much important. Automatic, rapid response to a stimulus without the will of an animal, that is involuntary, is an involuntary action. Now, during a reflex action, whatever pathway our whole body takes or the neurons they take, it is known as reflex arc. What do you call it? Reflex arc. The path that it follows, for example, the path from the touching of the hot pan, from moving away the hot pan, there are a lot of things that is happening inside my body. The pathway that this particular action is taking is known as what? Reflex arc. So reflex arc is a nerve pathway involved in a reflex action. Now let's see what is happening over here. So children, always remember, to sense everything we have receptors. To sense everything, we have receptors in our body. Okay, to sense smell, we have olfactory receptors. To sense taste, we have gustatory receptors on our tongue. Okay, for everything, we have to sense light, we have phonoreceptors. Okay, no, sorry, photoreceptors. To sense sound, we have phonoreceptors. Lots and lot of receptors are there, and if receptors are there, then only everything could work. So there should be receptors that could sense the stimulus. Okay, so over here, a person touches a thorn. This receptor, the sensory receptors, okay, which are there on the hand, it senses it, sends the signal. Okay, it sends the signal. It goes to our CNS, okay, that is brain or spinal cord. Now that is a very important part. Where does it go when you are talking about reflex action, children? When you're talking about reflex action, does it go to your brain and then or spinal cord, then from brain to our hand, back, and then we do this? No, no, it's not like that. We need quick action, and for making the action really quick, we need the help of our spinal cord. So the information primarily goes to a spinal cord, okay, and then the spinal cord gives another information that we have to pick up our hands. But you have to understand, it's not like brain is not involved in this process and brain is just useless. It's not like that. This information that, okay, this incident has taken place is obviously being taken to our brain as well. Okay, it is being taken to our brain as well, such that next time we remember that, okay, we do not have to do this. So once what I did was, okay, there was a flask, okay, normal flask, which had water usually, and this water used to be normal chilled water, not chilled water but normal water. And one night I went and I drank the water like this, and it was boiled water, literally boiled water. My whole tongue, it got burnt. Okay, it was a pathetic situation, but then after that, I'm very sure that before I drink water, I check what kind of water is it. Is it hot, is it cold, and whatever is there. So this information was stored. It was done by my brain, it is stored in my brain, but at that point of time, the reflex action that I did was to spit the water. That is done with the help of my spinal cord. So I did not have time for my brain to think about that. If a situation, the second situation, where I drank the water, I thought like, and that is the exact thing that happened. Okay, I didn't spit the water because it was someone else's home, but it was still in my mouth, and I was so worried. I just went to look around for a wash basin and I spit it there. At this point of time, I'm not doing a reflex action. Instead, I'm involving my brain over there. I will tell you one thing, okay, brain, there is reflex action in which your brain is also involved. That is something different. But over here, that was a voluntary thing that I did. I went there and I spit. That was something very inefficient of me. Oh, I would say very, you can say anything. Okay, it was a very stupid decision that I took, but I did that way, and probably next time I would not do anything like that. Okay, there will be reflex action that will be controlled by my spinal cord, and it will be really quick, and I should be relying on that. Okay, I hope I made you understand that basically our spinal cord is the one that plays a major role when it comes to reflex action, but still the information is stored in our brain as well. Okay, now whole pathway of how things work, we'll get to that, but I want to talk about receptors first because they are the most important part. If the receptors are not able to sense thing, obviously it won't be sending signals to anything. So receptor molecule generally is a protein that receives signals from a cell. There are different type, okay, it's not a cell, or it can be anything. There are different type of receptors depending on the sense organs, and they are very much important. They have been asked. They have asked what are the receptors that is there on your tongue that detects the taste, and you'll be like olfactory, gustatory, don't remember, it's a problem. So the one that detects the mechanical stimuli such as pressure, touch, vibration or stretch, they are mechanoreceptors. Okay, all for the mechanical actions, mechanoreceptors. Thermoreceptor, temperature, detects the temperature changes and are found in our skin and our internal organs. Gustatory receptors, important. Gustatory receptors, it detects the taste. Olfactory, it detects the smell. So all you can remember is oil. And oil has a bad smell sometimes. So you can remember olfactory is for your smell. Okay, or it can good smell, whatever you want to remember, you can remember. Gustatory is basically taste, you have to. Gustatory is tastery, you can remember like the gustatory, but don't please write like that, it is gustatory only. Okay, and phonoreceptors, phone, so it has to be ears, it detects the sound. Photoreceptors are there, which are there in your eyes for light. Agree? Will you be able to remember this? Gustatory, olfactory, photo, that is the most important things. Now okay, one information that is given in your NCERT textbook, let's see. Our sense of taste and sense of smell are closely interconnected, which is why when we are not able to smell things, we don't feel that we have eaten it. Okay, so when we chew food, volatile compounds released from the food travel from the back of our throat to the olfactory receptors in the nasal passages. So when we eat something yummy or whatever, basically the gaseous stuff, they move from back of the tongue to our olfactory receptors, which is why we are able to sense and eat it very nicely. These receptors help to detect various aromatic compounds in the food, contributing to the richness of flavor we experience. Together, the gustatory and olfactory receptors give the food its taste. Now, that is a piece of information which is given in your NCERT. Okay, so receptors do work simultaneously together as well for providing the most good experience to us. Now let's talk about the reflex arc and its part. We have three sets of neuron children. One is sensory, one is interneuron, and the other one is motor neuron. So do you have a picture of it? I had a picture of it. I showed you earlier, but I want to make one. So there are receptors, this senses this and sends the signal. Now there is a neuron. This is a neuron, and this neuron is known as, children, sensory neuron, which is going to take the signal that oops, I touched on a hot pan. Okay, now this sensory neuron basically goes to the spinal cord. Okay, and in the spinal cord there is another neuron which you call as interneuron. So if it is inter, that means it is in between something. What is that between something? Because there is another set of neuron which you call as motor neuron. So interneuron is between sensory neuron and the motor neuron. Motor neuron is that something that will go and affect the effector organ, which should be our muscles over here as of now, and hence the muscles will contract, and hence we will take away our hand. Okay, so over here what you have to remember, first thing, there is sensory receptors which senses thing. This sends a signal to sensory neuron, which is also known as afferent neuron. A for coming A. Okay, so afferent takes in the signal, takes it to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord you have interneuron. You also call it relay neuron because it is acting as a relay. In relay race you might have seen people are there in between to take the battle and run away, right? So basically similarly interneuron is the one that gives off the battle to the next guy, that is motor neuron. Now motor neuron is also known as efferent neuron. Efferent, E for exit neuron. It is the one that goes and says that effector organ, you have to do something, please contract yourself such that the hand could be taken up. Okay. So, effector organ, sensory, receptors, everything that is present over here, you have to remember each and every small information. This is the one that makes up your reflex arc. Okay. Now, this neuron can be this long, okay, or it can be multiple neurons as well. Now, it's not like the shape of neurons is just one, as you saw. There could be multi-shaped neurons. There are different shapes of neurons which you never know, but there are. Okay. Now, let's try to read everything of them. Sensory neuron, also known as efferent neuron. This is a type of neuron that detects the stimulus such as touch, pain or temperature. It transmits. So, this is not the one that detects the stimulus. Who is responsible for detecting? It is the receptors. Okay. This type of neuron is connected to the receptors that detects the stimulus. Okay, you can write like that. So, I will write it for you. I don't want to make things wrong for you, so I will write it. This type of neuron is connected to a receptor that detects a stimulus such as touch, pain or whatever. Okay, it transmits the sensory information from a sensory receptor to the central nervous system. Okay, where in the central nervous system? Your spinal cord. Now, what is interneuron? Also known as relay neuron. This neuron is located entirely within the CNS itself. It receives the sensory information from the sensory neuron and processes it. So, here is a place where processing is happening. Oh, we have to do something. And then motor neuron, also known as efferent neuron. This neuron receives signal from the interneuron. It transmits the appropriate response to an effector, typically a muscle or a gland, causing a reflex action to occur. Okay, that's all about the reflex arc. Now, steps involved, if you want to write the steps, you can write it like this as well. Sensory neuron sends electrical impulses to the relay neuron which is located in the spinal cord. Please mention about sensory receptors first. I always tend to forget that. Okay, please mention about the sensory receptors first. Okay, relay neurons connect sensory neurons to motor neurons. Motor neurons sends electrical impulses to the effector organ. Effector produces a response such as contraction of a muscle. Done, done, done. Give yourself a big tap. Now, what is the significance of reflex action? Very much important question. You would never think that it is important, but as I said, simple things are difficult to remember at difficult times. So, let me break things down for you. Significance is that it helps in initiating an immediate response. If you think for a lot, if you include your brain in that, then it will be a very, very long process. You do not want to do that. You want to initiate a quick response. Second, it helps in increasing the survival mechanism. It helps you survive. For example, someone is going to stab you. If you do not run away, you are going to mess up with your life. You are going to die. So, it is obviously increasing the survival mechanism. Reflex actions are evolutionary adaptation that have developed to increase an organism's chance of survival, and this is inborn, children. It is not acquired. It is inherited. It is inborn, and acquired as in you acquire it throughout your lifetime. So, they might give you, I tell you how question comes, they might not fill this thing, you have to write it. Okay. So, start with stimulus, not with receptors also. Start with stimulus, make the whole diagram like this and write it properly what and all is involved. Yeah. Yeah, listen. In the diagram given below, name the labeled x and y. Now, if you do not know what is x and y, I am going to kill you. Tell me what is x, children. Can you tell me what is x over here? Over here, there is something very hot. Now, this guy has to pull up his hand. So, what is x over here? It will be sensory neuron, and over here it will be motor neuron, because this is the interneuron that is present in the spinal cord. So, it has to be motor neuron. Now, which of the following statements is or are true about a neuron? This was in your previous year question paper. So, let's see. Dendrites of neuron passes the impulses. Dendrites of the neuron passes the impulse to the axon. You tell me. Dendrites of a neuron passes the impulse to the axon. So, first thing has to be cell body, but okay, let's keep it like that. Axon of a neuron carries the impulse from the cell body. Now, this is correct. Sensory neuron carries the impulse to specific effectors. No. the one that carries to specific effectors is motor neuron. So that is wrong. Transmission of impulse from a neuron to a muscle fiber occurs through neuromuscular junction. Yes, there has to be a neuron and that's a muscular junction, so it has to be occurring to a neuromuscular junction. This is also correct. So dendrites of a neuron pass the impulse to axon. No, it is cell body. That is more correct. Okay, let's see where 2 and 4 is correct. 2 and 4, 2 and 4. Yeah. Correct answer is this. So this is how question comes. Okay. Talking about our brain. Okay. So I think after brain we have to just do the hormones and then we are complete with the chapter. You don't have to worry too much about it. Okay. So let's talk about brain, children. Your brain is divided into 3 regions: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So let's see. So over here, this, okay, this part of your brain is what? Somewhat like this. Yes, will be your forebrain. Okay, going ahead, you have your midbrain as well, which is a small part, very small part, and this whole thing that you see over here becomes your hindbrain. So your midbrain will be somewhere around here. That is forming the basis over there. Okay, rest everything, this whole subset, the one that is the most bigger is the forebrain, and then comes hindbrain, and then comes the midbrain, which is very, 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 very small. Okay, going ahead, let's see the functions because that is more important. So your forebrain has 3 different, or basically 4 different regions. Okay, one is cerebrum, the other one is thalamus, and the other one is hypothalamus. So this thing that you see over here, the coiled, totally coiled thing, that is cerebrum. And cerebrum has 2 hemispheres. So if you might have seen the brain structure, right? So in that there are 2 hemispheres divided, right? So one is this, one is this. So cerebrum has 2 hemispheres, cerebral hemispheres. Now cerebrum is the most biggest thing, and the one that is being used as of now when you are studying with me is the cerebrum. So you have to remember the functions of each part of the brain, and I'll make it really easy for you. As of now, when you are studying, you are thinking, you are solving questions. Okay, you are analyzing about languages, you are able to understand language, my language. There's an awareness over here. Everything is being handled by your cerebrum. So just imagine, whenever you're studying, which is the part of the brain that is most active, that is good for thinking, for everything that is there, memory, everything. So you have your cerebrum over there. It is the main, largest and the main thinking part of the brain. Going ahead with thalamus, it is not very much important for you to know it, but still I am telling you. It is located near the center of the brain, and over here it is a relay station for all the sensory information. So for things to pass through, okay, there has to be some space in between. So this is that, thalamus is that particular place which is responsible for passing down the sensory information coming from various sensory receptors to different areas of the cerebral cortex. So making it go to the cerebral cortex for thinking and all this process. So in between that, what comes? Thalamus comes. But please remember, when we are talking about sensory receptors, you are not talking about olfactory receptors. Okay, so not all receptors information goes from here to cerebrum. Okay, please exclude the olfactory receptors, because olfactory receptors information goes to some other place which is known as olfactory lobe, which is the 4th part which is not being mentioned over here. So there is something that is known as olfactory lobe, which is the one which takes the signals from the olfactory receptors. Okay, so there is olfactory lobe as well in your forebrain. Okay, now hypothalamus is there. Hypothalamus, you can remember it very easily, I'll tell you. H for hunger, okay, T for thirst, and S for sleep, sex, as well as one more was there, stress was that, I forgot. Okay, so basically hypothalamus is the one that is responsible for hunger, thirst, sleep, and the release of hormone from the pituitary gland as well as sex hormones. So basically this is done by hypothalamus. Okay, so it is just located below the thalamus, which is why it is known as hypothalamus, and it regulates various physiological processes including body temperature, Okay, body temperature, hunger, thirst, sleep and release of hormones from the pituitary gland. So hypothalamus is the one which goes and say, hey pituitary, you have to release certain things or you have to stop releasing certain things. So pituitary gland is the endocrine gland, okay, which is again there in your brain itself. It will be able to release lots of hormone. Okay, so basically even hypothalamus acts as a gland as well. It is also responsible for releasing hormones. Okay, so it goes and controls the pituitary glands as well. You will get to know about pituitary gland release soon. As of now we are talking about forebrain, so let's just be limited to that. Forebrain has 4 major parts. One is cerebrum, not bellum, okay, cerebrum. Now cerebrum is responsible for what you are doing as of now, thinking, problem solving, everything. Okay, thinking, problem solving is the major part of the brain. It's the largest part of our brain. Okay, and the next one is thalamus. Thalamus is just acting as a relay station for all the sensory receptors, neurons and everything to pass out this information to the cerebrum. But olfactory informations are not being sent to the cerebrum. Instead it goes to the olfactory lobes because they are the one that senses it. Now comes hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is just located below the thalamus and they are responsible for hunger, thirst, sleep, sex and all in giving out information to the pituitary gland as well. So basically it is responsible for the physiological function. Hunger and thirst is a physiological function, right? It's a bodily function. So that is the thing. I hope now you won't be forgetting this particular thing, that is cerebrum. So for awareness, for language, for everything brainy, we say cerebrum is the one. Going ahead, midbrain. Midbrain is also something that acts as a relay station for everything, for all the information to go through. Apart from that, it is also responsible for reflex action. When we say brain is involved in reflex action at times, I told you, right? So over here midbrain has a major role to play. And for pain perception as well. But again, midbrain is not a big deal to remember. It won't be asked very much, but you need to know the part. Okay. So this is the way through which all the neurons pass to the forebrains as well. Now comes our next part, which is the hindbrain. Hindbrain. Now children, I want to go to the diagram and I want to explain you certain things. Just a second. But before that, okay. So this whole thing was our, what was it? It was the forebrain, right? Now, this thing that you see over here, highlighter I'll use. This is your cerebellum. What is it? Cerebellum. So this whole thing is your hindbrain. Out of this thing that you see over here, it is cerebellum. Then you have something which is known as pons, and then you have something which is known as medulla oblongata. Okay, so this whole thing is your basically hindbrain. Yeah. Now cerebellum is the biggest part in the hindbrain, and just after your cerebrum, the second largest part of your brain is cerebellum. Now we can go ahead and study. Now you would not be confused in cerebrum and cerebellum if you listen to me for 1 minute. As I said, it is the second largest part of the brain and the largest part of the hindbrain. It is responsible for coordinating and regulating movement, balance, posture and other motor functions. So all the motor function is responsible for that. Okay, and I forgot to tell you one very important thing. Cerebrum, no, it is responsible for all the voluntary functions, something that I do on voluntary basis. I want to move my hand, whatever voluntary things are being done, it is done by cerebrum. Please remember it. The fine tuning of this thing, okay, we know fine tuning is there, it is done by cerebellum as well. Now, how can you differentiate between cerebrum and cerebellum? Cerebellum, as you see, there are 2 L. So basically, it can remind you of your posture, straight. So cerebellum is responsible for your posture, for your balance, for your movement and everything, all the motor functions. Okay, all the motor function is, for example, people who drink alcohol. In alcoholic people, the cerebellum is getting affected, which is why you might have seen the people, they go like this, because they are not able to maintain the balance or the posture. So please remember, the double L in cerebellum is responsible for posture, for movement, for balance and everything. It is also responsible for maintaining or the fine tuning of voluntary movements, but the basic voluntary actions, okay, this is voluntary movements, but basic voluntary actions that is being done, it is done by the cerebrum. Okay, now pons is another part. It is responsible for controlling breathing. The pons contains important respiratory centers that help regulate the rhythm and depth of breathing, but it does with the help of medulla oblongata. So this both are connected in some of the other ways. So pons, even though we say that they have the respiratory centers that controls the depth of breathing and everything, but again this guy won't be working without this guy. So medulla oblongata coordinates various reflexes including coughing, sneezing, swallowing and vomiting. So all of them, if you see, are they voluntary? Are they voluntary? You don't tell me. Coughing, sneezing, achhi, swallowing, okay, swallowing is voluntary, vomiting, they are all involuntary. Comparatively, most of them are involuntary. So your involuntary things are being controlled by your medulla oblongata as well. So your involuntary reflexes, some of them are being controlled by your medulla oblongata. I am not saying all, but some. Okay, it controls both breathing and cardiovascular activities. Now that is very much important. It controls the rate of your heartbeat, expansion and contraction of the blood vessels, blood pressure, everything is controlled by medulla oblongata. Now there was a picture in Malayalam cinema where the villain is hitting the head region, we seeing medulla oblongata. It's a very funny, even though it does not sound, but yeah. Someone hits the medulla oblongata and they say, oh my god, medulla oblongata is gone, and because of that probably the person might have died. I know it does not sound funny, I should not have said that, but still. But basically if medulla oblongata, if you are hitting on medulla oblongata, probably the person could die, because you are messing up with all these things. You are messing up with the rate of the heartbeat, the blood pressure, all the cardiovascular as well as breathing activities of a human being, which is why we need to keep our medulla oblongata really safe. Okay, and it is also responsible for coordinating various reflexes, coughing, sneezing and stuff like that. As I said, involuntary reflexes are also there, vomiting, sneezing and things like that. So please remember, involuntary stuffs are being controlled by your medulla oblongata, as well as medulla oblongata is also responsible for maintaining the breathing and the cardiovascular. So this guy, this particular medulla oblongata is very much important. Okay. Yes. So now, one more thing, cranium refers to skull, the bony structure that encases and protects the brain and other important organs within the head. So basically you cannot leave your brain like that, okay, it has to be very much protected, and for protecting it really well, you have something which is known as what? Cranium. It is the skull and it is a bony structure. So skull, scientific name is cranium, okay. The meninges are a set of three protective membranes that surround and support the brain and the spinal cord within the cranial cavity and the vertebral column. So basically what happens, for brain we have the cranium, okay. For our spinal cord is protected with the help of what? Vertebral column. So this is our spinal cord, it is protected with the help of vertebral column. Vertebral column, or you also call it as what? Backbone. Okay, now they are saying inside the cranium or inside the vertebral column, okay, in the cranial cavity, that is in the space, there is 3 layers of protection, and you call these 3 layers of protection as what? Meninges. There is a disease known as meningitis which affects the meninges and it causes problem in your brain, okay. So meninges are the 3 layers, there is dura mater and things like that which is going to protect the brain. 3 layers, please do not forget. Okay, and the spinal cord. Okay, the spinal cord is a long, thin, tubular bundle of nervous tissue. So there are so many neurons being connected, and forms that extends from the brainstem down through the vertebral column. So the pons and the medulla oblongata is going to form the brain stem. So brain is there is a stem sort of thing, that is the pons and the medulla oblongata, which is going to go ahead and connect to the spinal cord. So this forms the brain stem down, and so it's saying the spinal cord is a long, thin, tubular bundle of nervous tissue that extend from the brain stem down through the vertebral column, entire vertebral column. Functions. What is the use of spinal cord? It helps in relaying sensory information that allow us to perceive the environment. If the sensory information are not being relayed, it is not being went through the spinal cord, obviously our whole system won't be tap. Okay, controlling voluntary and involuntary movements, that is there. It helps in facilitating the reflex responses, which is the most important thing. So it is acting as a relay center for everything to work. So brain gives information, goes to the CNS and goes to the entire body, okay, with the help of the spinal nerves. And it helps in controlling the voluntary and involuntary action comes according to it with the help of this point itself. And then it helps in facilitating the reflex action as well. So children, before going to the endocrine system, I want to tell you basically this thing. Sorry, I want to ask you basically this thing. How many parts, how many different types or parts of brain do we have? One is forebrain, second is midbrain, third is hindbrain. Forebrain has the most biggest part, that is cerebrum, which has two hemispheres, cerebral hemispheres. And what are they responsible for? Basically, it's responsible for thinking, analytical skills, problem solving, and controlling your voluntary actions as well. Okay. Second part is your thalamus, okay, which is acting as a relay station. Then is your hypothalamus, which is responsible for hunger, thirst, and everything, okay, sleep. And hypothalamus is also responsible for giving out signals to pituitary gland, which is the endocrine gland, which we are going to study as of now. And then comes what? So that is done. Now come olfactory lobe is also there in the forebrain itself. Olfactory lobe is responsible for receiving the signals from the olfactory receptors and sensing it out and giving out information as to what you should be doing. Okay, probably salivation will come, lot of things could happen. Now that is there. Now going ahead with the next thing, we have the midbrain, which is again acting as a relay station, but again it's somewhat, it is involved in pain perception and relay reflex actions as well. But not very much important in reflex action, but still it is there. Going ahead, okay, I made a wrong statement, so I'd be correcting it. It's not like it's not very much important. It is there, it is important, but as of now, for you to learn, it is not very much important. That is what I was trying to say. Now going ahead, for hindbrain, you have again three regions: cerebellum, okay, pons, and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum is basically responsible for posture, balance, okay, for your movements, everything for your motor responses, and I hope you remember it, and also for fine tuning your voluntary movements as well. Next, pons, it is the breathing center, respiratory center. It is responsible for controlling the depth of your breath, but it works along with medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is the one that is control center for breathing and respiratory action. So if question comes, please go take medulla oblongata, that's all. So basically your cardiovascular activities, everything is being controlled by medulla oblongata, okay, and also in certain involuntary actions like coughing, sneezing, vomiting and all is controlled by medulla oblongata. Done. Now and you have skull or this cranium, okay, which protects your brain, vertebral column which protects your spinal cord, and then you have meninges, 3 layers, okay, which covers your brain and the spinal cord, that is also there. Okay, done. Now what is endocrine system? Do you need a break? I think I am also like not able to speak around things, so we'll take a chutusa break. Okay, so go drink water, hydrate yourself, try to actively recall things and come back, and we'll start off with the next part, that is endocrine system, that you have right over here. Yeah, my dear children. So okay, my champions, when I say that you can pause the video, you have to pause the video and you can go, because I will be keeping on going on. These videos will be merged, right? So you can pause the video, right, whenever you need to take a break. Okay, so what do you mean by endocrine system? So endocrine system consists of endocrine glands that controls the body by releasing what? Chemical messengers. Hormones, they are known as chemical messengers. Please do not get confused when they are asking about which chemical messenger is being released and things like that. It is the hormone that they are asking for. Okay, so chemicals are being released and this is in the form of a message. They are going to transfer a message, which is why it is known as chemical messenger. Now they are ductless glands, which is very important information. Why do I say ductless gland? I'll show you. Which secrete hormones directly into the blood rather than the ducts. So the sites that responds to these hormones are known as target sites. Basically, simple words. The sites onto which these hormones are going to act, they are going to be known as target sites. Okay, they are going to be known as target sites. Now over here, let's see difference between ductless and ductless gland and the gland that has a duct. So over here, you have an exocrine gland which is responsible for releasing enzymes, children. So what happens, if you see, there are lots of cells. This is a gland, and these are the cells. These glands are releasing the secretion and it's forming a duct through which these secretions are stored and then being released. So this is a gland that has a duct. But if we talk about our endocrine gland, these are the cells that is there, and around the cells there will be blood vessels. So these cells will be directly secreting their things into the blood vessels. Okay, and what are these things that they are releasing? Hormones, because they are known as the endocrine glands. So this is why they are going to release what? Hormones. Will you be able to remember this? Okay, so endocrine are the ductless glands, please remember. Now endocrine system, what all do we have? Let's see. In brain we have pineal gland, we have hypothalamus, we have pituitary gland. Over here we have the thyroid gland. Over here in the sternum near that we have thymus. We have pancreas. We have adrenal glands on our kidneys. We have ovaries and testes. Okay. Now let's see. Dictatorship is happening over here. Why? Because the hypothalamus say, hey pituitary, bro, do what I say. Okay, and pituitary is asked, do I have a choice here? And with this you can get to understand that their relationship is very toxic over here, that they are not given a choice as to what has to be done. So let's see, what does the hypothalamus actually do? So it controls the secretion of hormones from the anterior and posterior lobes of pituitary gland. So pituitary has an anterior lobe as well as a posterior lobe. Two lobes are there in pituitary gland. Both of them are being controlled by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus are going to release two sets of enzymes, either releasing hormones or inhibiting hormones. When I say releasing hormones, they are going to say, hey pituitary, by release hormones. When I say inhibiting hormones, when hypothalamus is releasing inhibiting hormones, they are going to tell, hey pituitary, stop your secretions. Okay. Now let's see what does pituitary actually do. So the anterior pituitary, it is responsible for growth hormones, children. Promotes, and as you can understand by growth hormones, they are the one that promotes and regulates the growth of a human being. So people, okay, who are very much deficient in the growth hormones, they have a disease, a condition, not a disease, a condition that is known as dwarfism. Okay, what is it? Dwarfism. You might have seen people whose height is really less. You should not be making fun of them. This is because they do not have enough growth hormones. They have dwarfism. And then if there is over secretion of these hormones, the people can develop gigantism. So you might be seeing two big people, right? So they have gigantism. So basically this is because of growth hormone deficiency and also because there is over secretion. You have to remember the name of these two conditions. Will you be able to remember it? Okay. So pituitary gland is going to release growth hormone. So over here, if this guy wants this to release growth hormone, it will say growth hormone releasing hormones. It will give out what? Growth hormone releasing hormones. If it wants to inhibit, it will be growth hormone inhibiting hormones. Okay. So growth hormones is going to promote and regulate growth. Second thing, thyroid stimulating hormone is also being controlled by GnRH and being produced by pituitary. So thyroid stimulating hormone, it controls, as the name suggests again, it controls the functioning of the thyroid glands. Now when this thyroid stimulating hormone goes and acts on the thyroid gland, it will be releasing thyroxine. We will get to know about that as well. So as of now, just remember, okay, so this is Pardada, this is Dada, Dada is Papa. You can remember like that. Okay. So what is Papa? Thyroid gland itself is Papa. This is Pardada, that is hypothalamus. This is Dada, that is pituitary gland. So if thyroid stimulating hormone, if this guy says, then only this guy will be releasing. Okay. If thyroid stimulating hormone is being released, that's when thyroid gland will be producing thyroxine, enough thyroxine. If it is not produced, then there the level will be down. Okay. Now follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone are also being released by the anterior pituitary. Follicle stimulating, basically how can I explain you? These are responsible for making the follicles up in the ovary. Making the follicles up in the ovary, as well as they have major roles to do in the testis of a male as well. Okay. Luteinizing hormone, again, they also have a major role in producing the male hormone, that is androgens. Okay, in the females, it is again responsible for ovulation. So there are lots and lots of function related to sexual aspects for follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone, which as of now you don't need to put a lot of stress on. Okay, you need to put stress on this and this, majorly this. So anterior pituitary releases growth hormone and thyroid stimulating hormone. Vasopressin. Okay, posterior pituitary releases something that is known as vasopressin. Okay, vasopressin basically it is antidiuretic hormone. For example, you do not want the water in your body to get lost. You want to reserve the water because it is very much important, which is why it is known as antidiuretic. So when the body needs to conserve water, such as during periods of dehydration or low fluid intake, vasopressin level high, it becomes higher, rises. This hormone prompts the kidney to reabsorb more water from the urine back into the bloodstream, reducing urine output and helping to prevent excessive water loss. So that is vasopressin. Okay, antidiuretic hormone, ADH, antidiuretic hormone. There is oxytocin as well. Oxytocin is one that is being released by the hypothalamus from the pituitary in a way. Okay, and basically what it does is it goes and gives signals to the urine to uterus to contract so that the baby can move out. Also during injection of milk also it is very much important. Okay, so I'm not going in detail, but vasopressin and oxytocin has something to do with hypothalamus in a major amount. But yes, as of now you don't need to remember that. Please, can you remember this? Hypothalamus is the one that goes and says the pituitary you have to release this and that, okay, or you have to stop releasing this and that. Anterior pituitary is responsible for growth hormones. If you are not releasing growth hormones enough, then it can cause dwarfism, oversecretion, gigantism. Okay. Second is thyroid stimulating hormone, which will go and act on the thyroid gland as well. Follicle stimulating luteinizing hormone is there in sexual, it is responsible for all the reproductive related methods. Okay. Now if we talk about vasopressin is known as antidiuretic hormone, which does not want us to lose lots of water. Okay, so it takes in lot of water, absorbs, reabsorb water. Okay, it is not the one that reabsorbs, but it tells the kidney that you have to reabsorb. Oxytocin is the one that causes uterine contraction and also it helps in ejection of milk. Chalo, pineal gland, that is the next one. There in the brain itself, it is helping in regulating the biological clock and the gonadal development. Gonadal as in gonads. So in males it is the testis. In females it is the ovary. Those are the gonads that are going to release the gametes. Okay. So the gonadal development, the biological clock as in when you are waking up, when you are sleeping down, everything is done by pineal gland. Pineal gland again is not something very much important, but yes, you need to have a thought of it. Don't forget it. Okay. What is important? Thyroid gland is very much important. So after growth hormone that is being there, I think this is the most important thing, thyroid gland. So the two main thyroid hormones are thyroxine, which is T4, okay, and triiodothyronin, that is T3. Why it is T4 and T3? Basically there are three iodine molecules over here, triiodothyronin in this particular hormone, and 4 iodine molecule in thyroxine. Okay, and what is it responsible for? For metabolic regulation, growth and development. If this is messed up, everything that is happening in your body will be messed up, I'm telling you. Okay, so for that nowadays people generally have this particular disease as a very common thing because of our eating habits and things like that. Even I have it. Okay, so then you might have to go to a doctor, have a checkup, start having medicines if you need to, or probably it will slowly be okay by itself. Okay. But it is very much important for metabolic regulation. Metabolic regulation as in, you know, right, chemical reaction that is happening inside your body, they are all coming under metabolic reactions. So each and every chemical reaction is being somehow controlled by the thyroid gland. Okay, so you need to make sure that this particular gland is working very well for growth and development, everything. For the formation of thyroid hormone, we need iodine, which is why I said thyroxine needs 4 iodine, triiodothyronin needs 3 iodine. Iodized salt is an effective and efficient way to prevent iodine deficiency and thereby helps in the production of thyroid hormone. So if you have iodized salt, then it will be really easy for your body to make thyroxine, because thyroxine, as I said, thyroid hormone, whatever is there, they all need iodine. So generally please take in some iodized salt, good quality salt. Deficiency of iodine leading to insufficient thyroid hormone production leads to goiter. Goiter is what? Swelling of the thyroid glands. Swelling of thyroid glands. You can remember this like thyroid gland is like poor, like cries. Where is iodine? And it gets, when we cry or everything gets swollen up, right? Similarly here also the thyroid gland is getting swollen up and this is known as goiter because it is not getting enough amount of iodine for the formation of thyroid hormone formation. Okay. So thyroid gland is there, children. Two hormones, thyroxine, triiodothyronin, T4 and T3, both of them requires iodine. Okay, you could get iodine if you have iodized salt. Now, what does it do? It is very much important. It is responsible for metabolic, all the metabolic reactions that is happening in our body, for growth and development, everything. Okay. Now, deficiency of iodine would lead to what? Insufficient thyroid hormone, that will be leading to goiter as well, which is the swelling of the thyroid gland. Then, next thing, adrenal gland. Where is it located? On the top of each kidney. This is where adrenal gland is located. Okay, renal for kidney. Now, the adrenal glands are a pair of small triangular endocrine glands located at the top of each kidneys. Okay, the outer layer of the endocrine gland is also known as adrenal cortex. So this particular area that you see over here, this is known as the adrenal cortex. Now let's see what is it responsible for. It is responsible for cortisol, which is a stress hormone, aldosterone, that is helping in maintenance of blood pressure, and sex hormones as well. Okay, so what are those? Cortisol, stress hormone, aldosterone, maintenance of your blood pressure, and sex hormones as well. So I think adrenal glands are also very much important. If you can try to remember it, how you can remember it, write and learn. Okay, there is no trick to remember it as of now, but you have to write and remember it. Cortisol, aldosterone, and what do we have? Sex hormones as well. Now, which is much more important is your medulla. So inner layer of the adrenal gland is also known as adrenal medulla. That is this particular region, which I am going to make in green. I don't know if I touch green. Yeah. This is the medulla. So cortex is there and then medulla is there. It produces adrenaline or epinephrine. Okay, it causes both vasoconstriction, narrowing of blood vessels, and vasodilation, widening of blood vessels. Okay, what is it? Adrenaline or epinephrine. Now there is noradrenaline or norepinephrine. It is primarily induces vasoconstriction, leading to increased blood pressure and redirecting blood flow to critical areas like muscles and the brain. So basically, I'll tell you, both of these secretions that you see, they are responsible for fight or flight responses, as in either fight or you run away. That is what you mean by that, fight or flight responses. What are those? Adrenaline or noradrenaline. We say now we are getting an adrenaline rush. So what is this doing exactly is that basically when these hormones are active now, just imagine that there is a blood vessel over here. Okay, and you need to run now. At this point of time, you need to have more blood supply to your leg, but your supply is going to your upper body. So what happens? This particular blood vessel will be made to narrow down. Vasoconstriction will be happening over here. Okay, vessels are going to constrict so that the blood flow could be redirected to the leg instead of here. So over here now the blood flow could be increased at this particular end. Okay, this is what you mean by vasoconstriction. So vasoconstriction is being done to redirect the blood flow. I'll explain you once more. So over here you have the arteries or the veins, whatever is there, arteries basically. Now they have blood supply, but we do not want to have blood supply there. We want to have blood supply onto our legs. So basically these vessels are made to undergo vasoconstriction. Okay, they are constricted. Now when they are constricting down, what will happen? Now the blood will slowly go to other areas where it is needed much. That is to the leg or wherever. Okay, so that we can run away. So that is one thing. So it is responsible for narrowing our blood vessels and vasodilation as well. So sometimes we need, so over here this vessel will be dilated, so that there could be enough amount of blood that could reach from there to here very fast and move very fast as well. Okay, so that is about, and it also increases, it's not just about this, it also increases your blood pressure, your heart rate, lots and lots of things. Please mention that as well. Your heart rate, blood pressure, everything is getting increased because of this. Okay, so children, adrenal glands are at the top of each kidney. Okay, a pair is there. Now cortex is there, medulla is there inside. Cortex is responsible for cortisol, which is stress hormone, aldosterone, which is basically responsible for maintenance of blood pressure, yeah, and then sex hormones are also been there. Okay. Apart from that, your medulla is responsible for adrenaline or epinephrine, or noradrenaline or norepinephrine. Both of them are responsible for fight or flight responses. Okay. So basically for vasoconstriction wherever it is needed, and vasodilation wherever it is needed, for increasing the heart rate so that more amount of blood could be pumped and we can get enough amount of oxygen so that there is enough amount of energy being produced. So if oxygen is not there, respiration won't be happening, respiration is not happening, energy won't be produced, we won't be able to run. Okay. I hope you got that as well. Now this is who? Can you guess who is this? This is our beloved pancreas, and pancreas is the next gland that we are going to study. Just a second, okay? Yeah. So pancreas basically, I say that pancreas is a heterocrine gland. Heterocrine gland. So when we spoke about pancreas in the previous chapter, we spoke about the exocrine effect of it, where it was releasing enzymes, lipase, pancreatic amylase, and trypsin, lots of things like that. But over here, so I say it has two functions. One is exocrine and the other one is endocrine. Endocrine as in when it is releasing hormones, exocrine as in when it is releasing enzymes. Okay, which is why it is known as heterocline gland. Both of things it is doing. It is all in all. Now, basically, who are the cells which are responsible for releasing hormones over here? So you have clusters of cells which you call at islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. I think it's written somewhere here. Yeah. So it is islets of Langerhans cells which are responsible for releasing hormones. Okay. And there are different type of cells over here. There is alpha cell, that is beta cell, there is delta cell as well. Okay. You have alpha, beta and delta cells as well in islets of Langerhans, which are responsible for different things. Okay. So basically, what is the major hormone that is being released by your pancreas? I'll tell you. The major hormones being released by your pancreas, children, it is, first is insulin. And there's a very chotu sa homework for you. Tell me which cell, alpha or beta cell, is responsible for releasing of insulin, okay, and which one is responsible for release of glycogen. So, okay, insulin and glycogen, they have a common friend. So you might have seen a friend group of 3 people, right? Everyone has a friend group of 3 people somehow in their life. So this middle person always gets to suffer also, okay? I was the middle person in my life. So basically, there is glucose. Insulin says, hey glucose, please get converted to what? Glycogen. We do not need you over here. You have to be just stored in this particular format, so that when the body is in need of you, the glycogen can be broken down and can be used back in the form of glucose. So insulin is the one that is responsible for lowering down the blood glucose level. Okay, what does it do, children? Lower. Okay, I think instead of writing it like this, I can make a better approach by putting up a new slide and explaining it to you in a much more clear format. So, okay, you have insulin. Children, please take a screenshot of this, because when I am adding things, it won't be visible, okay? You cannot get it in the PDF. This is glycogen. Both of them are being released by pancreas. Now, okay, they have a common friend, which is what? Glucose. So insulin basically acts on glucose and says that glucose, hey guy, you have to get converted to something that is known as glycogen, or probably I should write it over here. Okay, you have to get converted in the form of glycogen, and please be like that. Please don't change yourself, you just have to be there. By this, what is it attaining to do? What is it trying to do? It is trying to lower down the blood glucose level. It is trying to lower down the blood glucose level. So basically, the glucose, it is getting converted to glycogen and is stored like that. When the body will need it, it can break down. But as of now, insulin is saying you cannot change, you have to be like this. And this glycogen is stored in liver. Is stored in liver. And hormones, they can move around and do their drama, right? So they do. Now glycogen says, oh my god, how did I write glycogen over here? It's glucagon. Please, 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 please. Forgive me guys for my mistake. It is gluca. Oh, glyco. Why. Okay. It is glucagon. As in glucose is gone. You can remember like that, or glycogen is gone. Anyways, so this glucagon says that, hey, you have to get broken down back to glucose. Exactly opposite of it. Okay, so glucagon is saying, glycogen, please break down to glucose, because the body needs glucose. Okay, rises up the level of glucose in blood. Okay, that is a role of glucagon. Why? Because the body needs it. Because mostly the body needs it. For example, I am starving, I didn't have food as of now. Or when I am teaching you for 3 hours continuously, even I'm just drinking water, nothing else. So this point of time, my body will be utilizing what? Glycogen that is stored. Okay, my body will be utilizing glycogen, it will be breaking down to glucose, and that is the glucose which will be going undergoing respiration and providing enough amount of energy, that is ATP to me. Okay, so that is a function of glucagon. Will you be able to remember it? So pancreas, they have islets of Langerhans. They have cells alpha, beta and delta. All of them have different secretion. There's a homework for you. Which one of them is responsible for insulin secretion? Which one is responsible for glucagon secretion? Okay, glucagon you can remember like glycogen is gone. You can remember like that. Okay, so insulin converts the glucose, the blood glucose, and converts to glycogen. Stores in the form of glycogen in the liver itself. It is responsible for lowering down the blood glucose level. Glucagon rises up the level of glucose in the blood by breaking down glycogen into glucose when the body needs it. Now there is a disease that is known as diabetes. There is a disease that is known as diabetes. Now diabetes are of one of two types, but again I will talk about the general one, diabetes that we generally have. So basically in this diabetes what happens, the pancreas are not producing enough amount of insulin. Now if pancreas are not producing enough amount of insulin, the glucose level will be going high and it won't be happening. This glycogen formation is not happening. Now if glucose is going high, obviously we not need anything in too much amount, it can cause a huge problem. That is why we say that you need to put insulin injections. Doctor says either you have medicine or you have insulin injections, because probably the cells in the pancreas that is responsible for insulin formation is getting damaged, which is why they are advising you to take from an external source, that is insulin injections, such that the glucose can be still converted into glycogen. Okay. Now on the basis of this, there are so many questions. That there is a very tricky question that came. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it was in the form of graph. So you need to know the exact things that is there working. If you are messing up with this, you won't be able to solve graphical question. I am saying there might be theory questions as well as graphical question on the basis of this. Please try to solve. Now if I see something, I will try to solve by myself as well for you guys. Okay. So if you want, you can take a screenshot. I am writing expect graphical questions. Expect. I tried to find that questions, but I couldn't find it. Question. Okay, please take a screenshot, I'll move away. Yeah. Now, can we try to rename? Can you try to name them? Okay. I can name this as pineal gland. Okay, and this as hypothalamus or pituitary. Okay, this is pituitary. This is what? This is butterfly shaped gland, that is thyroid. This is thymus. Okay, thymus is a place where T cells and everything mature. So it also has a lot of secretions in there. This is adrenal glands, okay, and this is the testes. We didn't learn about testes, right? And the ovaries. I'll talk about testes and ovaries over here itself. So ovaries are responsible for two things, children. They are responsible for ovarian hormones. Ovarian hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen or estrogen, either way. It can start with O as well. So don't think ma'am is writing in wrong English, okay? So estrogen and estrogen, okay? That is the ovarian hormones that are released by ovaries. Now testis is responsible for, testis, how does it look? What I have written, oh my god. I now understand why people complained. Okay, testis. My teacher once while correcting my paper said, my handwriting is beautiful, even though it does not look beautiful as of now, but you might have seen in life process chapter, but it's not readable, and I feel it's entirely true. So respect to that teacher, yes. So testis is responsible for testicular hormones. What are testicular hormones? You call them androgens, okay? And an example of androgen, do you know an example of androgen? Testosterone. Testosterone. Fine. So that is also there. Okay. Progesterone and estrogen are responsible for all the secondary sexual characters as in a female, and testosterone is responsible for characters in male. Now realize one more thing, females also have testosterone, okay, but in a very limited amount. Now that's all. So testosterone is responsible for sperm formation as well, whereas in the case of progesterone, estrogen, they are all responsible for the ovum as well as maintaining the endometrium lining, for menstruation to happen, lots and lots of things. Okay. Now name the disorder which a person is likely to suffer due to the following. Okay. Is it my homework? No, it is not. It is not your homework. It is my thing. Okay. So name the disorder which a person is likely to suffer from due to the following: the oversecretion of growth hormones. Tell me, gigantism. This was a previous year question, okay? It came in 5 marks. Deficiency of estrogen in females. Hypogonadal disorder, something like that, okay? It is going to, it is basically the gonads, right? Deficiency of estrogen in females. Basically, if it is not there, obviously you won't be having the female sexual characteristics. So it is hypo as in less, okay? And gonadal as in it is coming off from your gonad, so it is going to affect your gonadal as well as all the secondary sexual parts that you are having in your body. Now less secretion of thyroxine. Less secretion of thyroxine, children, goiter. Also name the gland that secretes each of the hormones mentioned above. Tell me, growth hormone is released by pituitary gland. Deficiency of estrogen in females, basically ovary is releasing this. Less secretion of thyroxine, thyroid gland. How is the timing and the amount of hormone release regulated? Help with an example. So basically, children, there is something which is known as feedback mechanism. What is it? Feedback mechanism. Are you able to read it? Yeah. Feedback mechanism as in the one that I drew exactly for blood glucose level. Remember the blood glucose level over there, we made certain things like insulin is being released. So for example, so basically just imagine that that a person, human being, okay, his or her sugar level is very high. Sugar level is high. That means basically glucose is high in the blood. Now this gives a negative feedback, okay? This gives a negative feedback to our pancreas, that basically you have to release insulin, and this insulin will be giving down what? Will be counteracting the glucose and converting it into glycogen. So this process of counteracting things is known as a negative feedback effect. This is a negative feedback effect. Now glucose is still high and you're making, and the glycogen is still broken down. Okay, just imagine the glycogen is still broken down to give more glucose, more glucose, more glucose. Then it is what? Positive feedback. But here the exact opposite of it is happening. There is a negative feedback because this is getting counteracted. I hope you understand that. Okay, since this is getting counteracted, the amount of glucose is getting lowered because now it will be converted into glycogen with the help of glucose. Okay, so that is the meaning of negative feedback, and this is what you mean by feedback effect. So there is positive feedback effect as well. Okay, there is positive feedback effect as well when there is something being released and you are saying, okay, continue releasing that. That's not a problem. You still have to continue releasing that because we need that hormone in more amount. Okay, so the timing and the amount of hormone released, how it is regulated with the help of feedback mechanism. If something is there in more amount and it causes a trouble, there is a negative feedback loop that gets activated, and you can explain in the form of that. Now children, as I said, if you want the PDF, you can go in our description box, you can check in there, and everything you will be finding it there itself. Now apart from that, I want to tell you one more thing. These are the neurotransmitters. It is just there in your PDF. You can just have a quick read for that as well. Okay, so you might be saying adrenaline and epinephrine is also acting as a neurotransmitter. It's a hormone and it is also acting as a neurotransmitter. Okay, so that is also there. If you want, you can have a quick read of it. Now my role is done. It's time for you to do the work. So over here it's homework time. You have lots and lots of homework. There's just few things actually, not lots and lots. You have 3 MCQs that you have to solve, and if you're not able to solve, okay, if you are able to solve, I want the answers in the comment box. If you're not able to solve, we'll see what could be done about that. But if you are able to solve, I want your answers in the comment section. I'll be picking one among you for the next class. Now these are the questions, elaborate questions. Okay, so you have to find the answers and try to write it by your own self, and we'll see, check the next time. So that's all children. And one more very important thing. If you are very much confused after 10th what you need to do, medical or engineering course or some other course, then we at Diksha are providing DSAT, that is the Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, where you have all this thing. There is 60-minute concept based lecture followed by an aptitude test, and then one counseling where you will get more clarity of what you need to do later on as well. So, and it can give you 90% scholarship. So if you want to know more details about it, you can again click the link that is present in the description box. That's all, and I thank you from the core of my heart for being with me throughout the entire thing, that is the lecture, and I believe that this particular session was really useful for you. If you think that this was useful, then definitely do not forget to comment it down. I'll be really happy reading all the comments that you have put for me. And please study well. Your midterms are coming really close. Do not waste your time looking at mobile phones or doing any other things. Break is necessary, but not too much break. Okay, rest and you will rust. So that should be your policy. You should not be resting that much so that you rust itself. So that's all. Have a really good day. All the best, and God bless you all. And definitely do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Bye bye. Take care.